Hi, welcome back guys. This is your sensei, back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Naruto Was Ultimate Shinobi Prodigy? Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. A black-haired boy stood on a mountaintop, his battle kimono flowing in the wind. He was quite short, just 10 years old, with bright violet blue eyes and pale cheeks. He looked down upon the bustling city of Konoha. He called out to Kurama, announcing his return. With a grunt in response, he jumped down and landed gracefully on the dirt ground. Ahead of him were the large gates leading to his home village. As he approached, he noticed the guards. One had spiky black hair with a bandage across his nose, while the other had his hair parted with a cloth wrapped around his head. When the boy saw them, he smiled and ran up to greet them. Kotetsu and Izumo, who had been dozing at their post, woke up with a start, their heads colliding. One of them questioned who he was, while the other looked confused. Naruto smirked at their reactions, finding them amusing. He introduced himself as Uzumaki Naruto, reminding them of the times they looked out for him when he was younger and how much he loved ramen. Kotetsu nearly choked, while Izumo's eyes widened in disbelief as they tried to process the information. Finally, one of them asked about his hair. Naruto smiled nervously, rubbing the back of his neck and explaining that it was his natural color. The guards exchanged glances, shrugging it off as typical for the boy who always had secrets. After sharing some stories and presenting his identification papers, Naruto set off to inform the Hokage of his arrival. As he strolled through Konoha after 6 years, nostalgia washed over him. His favorite swing set was still intact, and the best ramen shop in the world, Ichiraka Ramen, remained just as he remembered. Before visiting the Hokage, he decided to catch up with Tuchi and Ayam, the owners of Ichiraku. Tuchi dropped his pans in surprise upon seeing Naruto, while Ayam gushed over how much he had grown from a cute toddler into a healthy young boy. It felt nice to be missed, and Naruto longed for that affection. Fortunately, Tuchi and Ayam were not as inquisitive as Kotetsu and Izumo, or he would have spent the day answering questions, especially about his hair. After enjoying a meal of chicken ramen with extra fish cake, he set off for the Hokage Tower. For the first time in his life, Naruto could walk through his home village without facing hostility. He found it amusing how his black hair changed his appearance. Soon he arrived at the Hokage Tower, where 2 ANBU guards stood at the door. One of them, wearing a tiger mask and sporting red hair, requested his identification papers. Naruto smiled innocently and showed the pass he received from Kotetsu and Izumo. Reluctantly, the tiger ANBU stepped aside, allowing him to enter the tower. He called out to the Hokage, enjoying the excitement of his return. Inside, he could hear the old man muttering about having trouble with his ears and disbelief at Naruto's presence. Naruto playfully asked if he missed him, and his sudden appearance startled Hiruzen, who gasped in surprise. They shared a laugh, and soon the two were conversing closely, like a grandfather and grandson. Hiruzen inquired about Naruto's hair and face, prompting Naruto to sigh as he prepared to reveal the truth. He explained that his father was a Namikaze, descended from the Uchihas. His father had kept his lineage a secret to avoid pressure from the council to restore his clan. Naruto detailed how Uchihas were considered pure-blooded if they descended directly from Madara, which he did. After Madara's defeat, he was cared for by a member of the Namikaze clan, leading to Naruto's lineage. He also shared that his mother was Tsunade's niece, and their family history was intertwined with the Uzumaki clan. Hiruzen listened intently, understanding the weight of Naruto's revelations. He wished to help him, but the harsh reality was that loss was often permanent. Suddenly, Hiruzen asked what Naruto planned to do now that he had returned. Naruto shrugged, indifferent to his options. He mentioned possibly attending the academy or even becoming an ANBU, but ultimately, he just wanted to rest. With a yawn, he informed Hiruzen he would be staying at the estate if he needed him and left the room. As he reached the Yuzuke's estate, a smile spread across his face. He was finally home. Sunlight streamed through the cracks in the curtain, shining onto Naruto's face. He groaned and turned away, annoyed. Kurama was already awake and, feeling frustrated that his jailer had more sleep, decided to wake him up. Kurama called out loudly, enjoying Naruto's attempts to block him out. After a few moments, Naruto groaned and jumped out of bed, preferring to rise than endure the giant fox's incessant shouting. After dressing in one of his battle kimonos, equipping his necessary weapons, and eating a simple breakfast of onigiri, he set out to meet the Hokage and discuss his future. The ANBU eyed him suspiciously but allowed him entry. Naruto skipped through the corridors, whistling and smiling, ready for whatever lay ahead. He found the room and barged in, announcing his arrival with a cheerful declaration. Hiruzen looked up from his paperwork, his eyes lighting up with a smile as he welcomed Naruto and invited him to sit down. Hiruzen greeted Naruto warmly, expressing hope that he had rested well. He explained that they would be having a sparring match with one of his shinobi to assess Naruto's abilities and determine his rank for future assignments. When asked if he had any complaints, Naruto shook his head enthusiastically. Hiruzen called for Kakashi to join them. A tall man with broad shoulders entered, dressed in the standard Jonin uniform and wearing a black mask. His striking silvery white hair seemed to defy gravity, leaving Naruto in awe. Naruto pondered aloud whether Kakashi could be an ANBU, noting the similarity in chakra to the ANBU dog that had once watched over him. Hiruzen, intrigued, asked how Naruto had developed such impressive sensory skills. He confirmed that Kakashi had indeed been the ANBU Naruto mentioned, prompting a smirk from Naruto, who remarked that underestimating others was a mistake. With a chuckle, Hiruzen shifted the focus back to the task at hand. He explained that Naruto would be battling Kakashi to evaluate his skills. Naruto, filled with excitement, expressed his eagerness for the challenge, recalling that he hadn't had a good fight in a while. Hiruzen and Kakashi shared a smile at Naruto's enthusiasm, reminiscent of his mother, Kushina. With a flicker of his hand, Hiruzen transported them to an arena. Passed as Hiruzen observed the match, and he was astounded by Naruto's prowess. Not only did Naruto easily defeat Kakashi, but he also demonstrated mastery over every ninjutsu he attempted, even inventing some techniques on the spot. He was a true prodigy. Naruto's medical ninjutsu surpassed even Tsunade's, his fuinjutsu was superior to that of Minato and Kushina, and his genjutsu was remarkable, outshining even Kurinai's. His ninjutsu was exceptional, and his kenjutsu skills were unmatched. Surprisingly, Naruto preferred not to rely heavily on ninjutsu. He favored fuinjutsu and a medical ninjutsu style of taijutsu. He was not only incredibly skilled but also quite charming, which could be advantageous for future missions. As a reward for his performance, Kakashi took Naruto out to meet the other ANBU and Jonin who had supported him in his youth. They gathered at Yakiniku-Q for a meal. Kakashi greeted Asuma, a tall man with dark olive skin, who waved back before returning to his conversation with a woman with striking red eyes. Anko, a woman with spiky purple hair clad in a trench coat, inquired about Naruto, jokingly suggesting that Kakashi wasn't trying to hit on him. Kakashi rolled his eyes, responding with a playful remark about Anko's assumptions. As the banter continued, Naruto felt a bit out of place among the older shinobi, unsure of how to fit in. The atmosphere grew quiet until a man in green spandex broke the silence with an enthusiastic proclamation about youth, asking for Naruto's name and praising his youthful spirit. Kakashi sighed, introducing Naruto to the group and explaining that he was the same Uzumaki Naruto they had looked after years ago. The revelation caused a stir among the group, with expressions of surprise and recognition. Guy, the man in spandex, joyfully welcomed Naruto back, celebrating his return to Konoha. Before long, Naruto found himself embraced by Kakashi's friends, including Asuma, Anko, Kurinai, Ibiki, Guy, Yamato, Yugao, Genma, Heiate, and many others. He spent the evening laughing and sharing stories about his journey, enjoying their company and the camaraderie they offered. Despite not revealing his true heritage, Naruto felt a sense of belonging among them, even winning over Kurinai, who had not known him as a child. As Naruto settled into his second day back in his home village, he reflected on why he had ever left. But those thoughts faded as he embraced the warmth of belonging, allowing himself to drift into a peaceful sleep. Naruto awoke to find himself at the Shinobi Academy, ready to introduce himself to his peers. For the next 2 years, he would undertake an S-rank mission, protecting the last Uchiha, Sasuke. Hiruzen's words echoed in his mind, emphasizing the importance of Sasuke's safety for the future of Konoha. Although Naruto initially doubted the value of protecting someone like Sasuke, he understood the responsibility that lay ahead. And that someone was him. This meant that he always had to stay close to Sasuke. To conceal his true appearance and prevent Sasuke from feeling jealous of his pure-blood Uchiha lineage, Naruto had to cast a genjutsu on himself. To blend in, he wore a bright orange jumpsuit that he found quite ridiculous. His sensei, Umino Irika, led him into the classroom. Naruto expected to see around 30 children diligently reading books or taking notes, but instead, he was met with a chaotic scene of boys and girls laughing, screaming, and running around. The only quiet ones were a dark-haired boy, whom Naruto easily recognized as Sasuke by his brooding demeanor, a girl with creamy skin and cropped violet hair, clearly a Hyuga, a pineapple-haired boy who was sleeping, obviously a Nara, and a chubby boy shoving fistfuls of snacks into his mouth, an Akimichi. After Irika had asked them to quiet down at least 10 times, they finally listened and returned to their seats. Irika greeted the class, announcing that there was a new student. He gestured toward Naruto, prompting him to introduce himself. Naruto sighed but complied, remembering to act like a class clown to conceal the true purpose of his mission, as Hiruzen had advised. With enthusiasm, Naruto declared his name and his ambition to become the future Hokage, which elicited a few giggles from the class. However, Irika quickly silenced them with a glare, feeling conflicted about having Naruto in his class. Naruto was known as the demon brat who had caused tragedy in the past, and Irika struggled with the idea of teaching him, even though he understood it wasn't Naruto's fault that he housed the 9 tails. Irika began the lesson, asking if everyone had completed their homework on shurikens and kunais. The class responded monotonously, confirming they had done their work. Irika smiled gently and inquired if they had practiced throwing their weapons. Most of the class rolled their eyes but nodded in agreement. Irika reassured Naruto that he would catch up and led the class outside to assess their accuracy. After preparing the targets, he divided the students into groups of boys and girls. The girls practiced throwing kunai while the boys threw shurikens, with plans to swap afterward. Irika carried a clipboard to track their progress. First up for the girls was Haruno Sakura, a pretty girl with a large forehead, green eyes, and pink hair. She took her time throwing the kunai, hoping to impress Sasuke. One by one, the girls threw their kunai while the boys threw their shurikens. All the girls paused to watch Sasuke when it was his turn. He picked up the shurikens with flair and threw them with confidence, hitting the inner target with impressive accuracy, which sent the girls into a frenzy of admiration. Naruto observed the scene with amusement, thinking that even at the age of 3, he could have accomplished this task effortlessly. Irika called for quiet and then asked Naruto if he wanted to give it a try. Naruto eagerly accepted, determined to outperform his classmates. He grabbed the kunai and shurikens, throwing them with reckless abandon. Most of them fell to the ground with only 1 shuriken and 2 kunai managing to hit the target, barely hanging on the edge. The boys laughed at his performance while the girls looked smug, pleased that the newcomer couldn't surpass their Sasuke. Irika offered a gentle encouragement to Naruto, wishing him better luck next time. After the throwing task, it was time for lunch. The class broke into their friend groups, leaving Naruto alone to eat his self-made bento. Just as he was about to take a bite of his fish, a girl approached him. A purple-haired girl nervously introduced herself as Hinata Hyuga and asked if she could sit with him. Naruto smiled warmly and welcomed her to join him, surprised that an heiress from a prestigious clan would choose to sit with him, the so-called demon brat. Hinata blushed and took her seat next to him. As lunch came to an end, they returned to their usual lessons. After Irika explained the concept of chakra, the class was dismissed. 2 years passed, and today was the graduation test. Irika called for the class to settle down and announced that when he called their names, they should come to the next room for their graduation test, which involved successfully performing the clone jutsu. When it was Naruto's turn, Kurama encouraged him, and Naruto entered the room, ready to demonstrate his skills. He performed the clone jutsu, creating 3 clones that, while slightly off in color, were still viable. Iruka beamed with pride, having come to like Naruto over the years and wanting to help him become a good shinobi. With a joyful expression, Iruka congratulated Naruto on passing the test. Naruto faked a smile and celebrated his success, while Mizuki scowled in the background. But, Iruka, don't you think that Naruto's clones look a bit off and weak? He questioned. True, they are not perfect, but they still meet the Academy's standards for passing and graduating, Iruka countered. Alright Naruto, off you go. Naruto left the room. Be careful of that Mizuki guy, warned Kurama. I sense something sinister about him. Yeah, I know, Naruto replied. It feels suspicious. Orochimaru. Maybe, just keep your guard up. When Naruto returned to the classroom, everyone fell silent upon seeing that he had passed. Wow, Naruto, you graduated? Sakura said in disbelief. Even Sasuke couldn't hide his surprise. Naruto inwardly chuckled at his expression. After graduation, Naruto was summoned to the Hokage Tower. The academy days are over. You can officially drop your act now, Naruto, Hiruzen said, and Naruto sighed in relief. But don't relax just yet. I have another mission for you. I've received reports of suspicious behavior from Mizuki, one of your teachers. I need you to keep an eye on him. Yes, Aji, Naruto replied, bowing before flickering away. It was late afternoon, and Naruto was watching Mizuki. The white-haired man had quietly entered one of the Hokage's private rooms. Demon that Naruto, Mizuki hissed under his breath, unaware that Naruto could hear him. If that brat had just failed the test, I could have bribed him to steal the forbidden scroll. I guess I'll have to take it myself. Naruto smirked, now aware of Mizuki's intentions. Silently and swiftly, he approached Mizuki and pressed a pressure point on his neck, causing him to collapse. Naruto sealed him into a scroll and then flickered back to the Hokage. Lord Hokage! Naruto exclaimed. I have news. Hiruzen looked up from his paperwork. Mizuki has attempted to steal the scroll of sealing, Naruto reported. I see, Naruto, efficient and swift as always. I expected nothing less. Leave him with me. I will take him for interrogation. Suddenly, a little boy came running in, followed by an adult. Old man, fight me, he shouted, tripping over his scarf. Who tripped me? I know you did something, he accused, pointing at Naruto. Naruto sighed, explaining that the boy had tripped over himself as he grabbed him by the collar. Hey, Naruto. Let go of him. That's the 3rd Hokage's grandson. Go ahead and punch me, challenged Konohamaru, thinking Naruto was just another shinobi wanting to impress Hiruzen. You think I care? Naruto replied bluntly, surprising Konohamaru. Then he flickered away. The next day, Naruto was eager to see the priceless reactions of his classmates when he revealed his true self. He disabled his genjutsu and changed his clothes. Now he had pale skin, black hair that reached his shoulders, and wore a black and red battle kimono with tool pouches, fingerless gloves, and black sneakers. A sealing scroll was strapped to his back. For once, Naruto was on time. Soon, Shikamaru and Choji arrived, shocked to see Naruto reading quietly and dressed normally. They decided to ignore him. More people came in, all astonished by Naruto's transformation, but they continued to overlook him until Sakura arrived. Oh, pig. I beat you. Sakura shrieked. No, you didn't, forehead. Ino retorted. Yes, I did. My big toe is just in front. No, it's not. Are you? Shut up. The room fell silent, all eyes on Naruto. Normally, he would have tuned them out, but their noise was particularly bothersome today. Some people's ears would appreciate it if you didn't shriek like banshees, Naruto stated coldly. Shut up, Naruto. Just because you changed your hair color and clothes doesn't mean you're better, Sakura screamed. No one wants to hear what a loser like you has to say. No wonder you have no parents. They must have abandoned someone as annoying as you. An intense and dark chakra filled the room. I don't care if you insult me, Sakura, but I do care if you speak poorly of my parents when you know nothing about them. Instead of cowering, Sakura laughed. No one cares about you, Naruto. Why don't you get lost so I can sit next to my Sasuke-kun? That was the last straw for Naruto. In an instant, he placed a silencing seal on Sakura. Just then, Iruka entered, raising his eyebrows as everyone turned to look at Naruto. Naruto, could you please explain what's going on? Surely this isn't another one of your pranks. Iruka asked, surprised by Naruto's new look. It seemed as though Naruto had matured. Iruka-sensei, I have my reasons for putting a silencing seal on Sakura. Never mind, I was going to remove it anyway. After the commotion settled, Iruka began addressing the graduates. Sasuke ran off to the bushes to hide while Sakura went her way, stealing glances at Sasuke. Naruto remained in the open field alongside Kakashi. Aren't you going to hide? Kakashi asked. Naruto smirked. You know I'm not in their league. Let's see how much you've improved, Kakashi. Alright Naruto, go easy. Shinobi fighting lesson number 1. Taijutsu. Alright, let's put on a show. In a flash, Naruto teleported behind Kakashi. No way, has he learned Minato's jutsu? Kakashi thought, his eyes widening. Naruto's smirk widened. Underestimating someone is a major flaw for Shinobi. Quickly, Kakashi substituted himself with a log. Before he could react, Naruto attacked again, faster and more skillfully. The two engaged in a fierce taijutsu battle. Naruto threw a sunban at Kakashi's thigh, but he deflected it with a kunai. Kakashi threw shurikens at Naruto, who quickly vanished and reappeared behind him. Darn it! Kakashi cursed. Before he could escape, Naruto dislocated his shoulder joint. Are you trying to take me out, Naruto? Kakashi said, feigning annoyance. Naruto rolled his eyes. Come here, I'll heal you. Naruto placed his palms on Kakashi's shoulders, his hands glowing green. Within moments, Kakashi was healed. Now test my other teammates, but don't go too hard on them, Naruto instructed before flickering away. Kakashi was left alone in the open. When did Naruto become strong enough to hit Kakashi? Sasuke seethed, envious of Naruto's power. Kakashi saw an opening, and Sasuke seized the chance to attack. He threw kunais and shurikens at Kakashi, who was about to be hit when poof. He showed an opening on purpose, which was quite pathetic. Sasuke felt frustrated and ran off to hide in another place. Kakashi thought to himself that he now knew where Sasuke was. Sakura ran desperately through the bushes, worried about Sasuke. She wondered if their sensei had already found him. No, she thought that couldn't happen to Sasuke. Kakashi appeared suddenly, telling Sakura to look behind her. When she turned, he vanished, and she found herself caught in a whirlwind of leaves. Confused and panicking, she called out for her sensei. Then she heard a familiar voice calling her name. Sakura smiled, recognizing Sasuke's voice. But when she turned around, she was met with a shocking sight. Sasuke was leaning against a tree, clearly in distress. He pleaded for her help, and in fright, she screamed and fainted. Kakashi observed from a tree, feeling a bit guilty for going too far. Sasuke glanced around, concerned by Sakura's scream. Kakashi appeared again, explaining that Sakura had fallen for a genjutsu. Sasuke insisted he was different from the others. Kakashi challenged him, noting the strength of the Uchiha clan and expressing curiosity about Sasuke's abilities. Suddenly, Sasuke launched an attack, and they engaged in a series of intense moves. Sasuke threw his weapons, but Kakashi easily dodged them, mocking Sasuke's obvious tactics. Sasuke, determined, attempted a kick that surprised Kakashi with its speed. While Kakashi was focused on defense, Sasuke seized the opportunity to reach for a bell, coming very close to grabbing it before Kakashi retreated. Kakashi thought to himself that he hadn't even had time to read his book before Sasuke almost touched the bell. Sakura regained consciousness and looked around, remembering her concern for Sasuke. She called out for him, desperate for his safety. Kakashi acknowledged Sasuke's uniqueness compared to his teammates. Sasuke began performing hand seals, surprising Kakashi with his chakra control. He unleashed a powerful fire jutsu, engulfing the area in flames. But where was Kakashi? Sasuke looked around, confused, until he heard Kakashi's voice from below. Suddenly, the ground crumbled beneath him, and he was pulled underground, leaving only his head exposed. Kakashi explained that this was another lesson in ninjutsu, acknowledging Sasuke's skill but questioning his approach. Sasuke struggled to escape, feeling frustrated. When Sakura arrived, her reaction was dramatic, causing her to faint again. Sakura half-consciously heard Sasuke's voice and opened her eyes, relieved to see him. She expressed her joy at his safety, but Sasuke urged her not to hug him, reminding her that time was running out for their training. He mentioned that he had already touched the bell and would get it next time. Sakura admired Sasuke's determination but worried about her own chances of getting a bell. She feared being separated from him. Sasuke's intensity grew as he spoke of a man he needed to defeat, revealing his motivation to become stronger. Sakura was taken aback, recalling Sasuke's introduction to Kakashi. Sasuke felt he had wasted too much time and soon, all four of them gathered in a clearing. Kakashi informed them that they would be returning to the academy, but Naruto surprised everyone by revealing he had obtained 2 bells. Kakashi was curious about how Naruto had managed this. Naruto explained that he had switched the bells with rocks during their fight, demonstrating his cleverness. When asked who he would give the second bell to, Naruto tossed it to Sasuke and Sakura, stating that he didn't mind returning to the academy. Naruto articulated that the purpose of the test was to see if they could work together, emphasizing the importance of teamwork. Kakashi praised Naruto's insight, explaining the significance of caring for comrades. He shared the story of a memorial honoring fallen shinobi, including his best friend. Kakashi concluded that they all passed and that Team 7 would begin their duties the next day. Sakura left excited about becoming a kunoichi alongside Sasuke. The following day, Team 7 was assigned a mission to catch Tora the cat. Kakashi asked about the distance to the target, and the team prepared to spring into action. They leapt out to capture Tora, but the cat evaded Sasuke's grasp, scratching Sakura in the process as she tried to impress him. Tora kept running until she spotted Naruto. As he reached out to scoop her up, Tora leapt into his arms, snuggling warmly against him and purring contently before falling asleep. Sakura exclaimed with surprise about Tora's preference for Naruto over Sasuke. Naruto shrugged and walked away, while Kakashi questioned whether the ribbon on Tora's left ear confirmed her identity. Sasuke confirmed it, and Kakashi declared the lost pet search mission complete. Team 7 returned to the Hokage Tower to reunite Tora with her owner, Madame Shirjimi, the Fire Daimyo's wife. She enveloped Tora in hugs and kisses, expressing her relief and gratitude for her safe return. Sakura felt a pang of sympathy for Tora, realizing why she had run away. Hiruzen, curious, asked Naruto how he managed to catch Tora so easily, noting that even Anbu struggled with it. Naruto responded vaguely, hinting at the influence of his tenant, while Sasuke and Sakura listened intently, recognizing that Naruto had changed. Hiruzen then assigned Team 7 their next duty, which included babysitting an elder's grandson, shopping in a neighboring village, and helping with potato digging. Naruto, frustrated, requested a higher-ranked mission, expressing his weariness of mundane chores. Arika chastised him, reminding him that everyone starts with simple duties. Naruto, however, asserted that he was no longer the same person. Hiruzen acknowledged Naruto's growth and decided to assign a C-rank protection mission instead. He called for someone to enter the room, and the door creaked open. A man entered, dismissing Team 7 as mere children, particularly mocking Naruto's appearance. Naruto laughed, reminding the man that in the shinobi world, those who underestimate others often meet dire consequences. Kakashi advised Naruto to refrain from threatening the client. The man introduced himself as Tazuna, a bridge builder, and requested protection until he returned to his country to complete his work. Kakashi instructed the team to meet at the front gate in 15 minutes before disappearing with Naruto. Sasuke and Sakura hurried home. When Team 7 gathered at the front gate with Tazuna, Sakura asked if Naruto had brought anything. He revealed that he had sealed supplies into a scroll using Fuinjutsu. Sakura, excited about leaving the village for the first time, urged them to get going. Tazuna expressed his doubts about being safe with the team, but Kakashi reassured him of their strength. Sakura shyly asked Tazuna about the presence of shinobi in the Wave Country. Kakashi explained that while the Wave Country lacked shinobi, other countries had hidden villages and shinobi. He assured her that there would be no shinobi combat on a C-rank mission. Tazuna, however, seemed uneasy. As they continued, they remained unaware of a seemingly innocent puddle on the ground. Naruto, sensing something amiss, called out to the hidden twins, Meizu and Gozu, who emerged sheepishly from the bushes. They admitted they were sent by Gato to eliminate Tazuna to prevent the bridge from being completed. Naruto allowed them to leave, and the twins vanished in a mist. The mission was set, and the team prepared for the challenges ahead. Team 7 and Tazuna continued their journey after their encounter with the Demon Brothers, their curiosity about Naruto's connection to them lingering in the air. Sakura, unable to contain herself, questioned Naruto about how he knew the brothers and why they seemed to hold him in such high regard, suggesting that it should have been Sasuke who received such respect. Naruto sighed, indicating that his past was not something he wished to discuss. He mentioned that before joining the academy, he had ventured outside of Konoha. Sasuke, intrigued, grunted in acknowledgement of Naruto's strength, but Naruto playfully refused to answer Sasuke's question about when he had become so strong. Kakashi interrupted their banter, reminding them that their mission had escalated to a B rank due to the danger they now faced. He expressed concern about the implications of lying about the mission's rank, emphasizing that they were now operating outside their intended duties. Sakura, feeling the weight of the situation, suggested they quit the mission, her voice shaky. Naruto rebuked her, pointing out that abandoning Tazuna would be cowardly and that they should help him. Tazuna then spoke up, revealing that a dangerous man was after his life, confirming Kakashi's suspicions about the mission's severity. When asked about this dangerous man, Tazuna mentioned Gato, a wealthy shipping magnate known for his illegal dealings and ruthless tactics. He explained how Gato had taken control of the Wave Country's shipping industry through violence and manipulation, and that the completion of the bridge posed a threat to his monopoly. Sakura realized that Tazuna's work on the bridge put him directly in Gato's path, while Sasuke speculated that the shinobi they had encountered were likely hired by Gato. Before Tazuna could elaborate, Naruto interjected, dismissing Gato's power with a laugh. Tazuna, however, reminded them that Gato's wealth granted him significant influence. Kakashi pressed Tazuna on why he had concealed the threat when hiring them, to which Tazuna explained the financial struggles of the Wave Country. He expressed his desperation, stating that if they abandoned the mission he would face dire consequences. Naruto, unimpressed by Tazuna's guilt trip, declared that they would continue the mission because it was the right thing to do, and he was eager for action. Upon reaching the wave port, Tazuna signaled for a boat, which arrived quietly. The boatman informed them that they would soon see the bridge. As they approached, Tazuna cautioned them to remain silent to avoid detection by Gato's men. The boatman suggested a route through the vegetation to stay hidden. Once on land, the boatman bid them farewell, wishing them luck. Kakashi anticipated that the next attack would likely involve a more skilled opponent. Suddenly, Naruto heard rustling in the bushes and quickly threw a sunban into the underbrush, prompting Sakura to chastise him for acting cool over nothing. Ignoring her, Naruto spotted a snow rabbit, realizing it was a sign that their enemies were near. He and Kakashi shouted for everyone to get down just as a massive sword pierced a nearby tree, revealing a man standing atop it. Naruto recognized Zabuza Momochi, a notorious missing nin, and quickly moved to his side. Zabuza teased Naruto about his current status as a genin, and Naruto acknowledged the situation with a casual demeanor. He called for Haku, who gracefully joined them from the trees. As the three exchanged pleasantries, Team 7 observed, intrigued by Naruto's past. Kakashi eventually asked Naruto to clarify the situation. Naruto explained that Zabuza and Haku were old friends he had made during his travels. Zabuza warned them that Gato was manipulating them and that after they eliminated Tazuna, Gato would simply hire more mercenaries to deal with them. Zabuza and Haku revealed that they were merely entertaining themselves by working for Gato, as they had intended to confront him anyway. Naruto then urged Tazuna to lead the way to his home, leaping off Zabuza's sword with surprising grace, leaving Sakura and Sasuke astonished. Tazuna solemnly reflected on the loss of courage among the people of the island, particularly concerning Inari. Kakashi inquired about Inari's well-being, and Haku politely asked if he was alright. Tazuna began to recount the story of the man who had once been considered the hero of the city. It was about 3 years ago when Inari met a man named Kaiza. One day, while being bullied by 3 other kids, they threw his dog Pucci into the ocean, forcing Inari to save him despite not being able to swim. Fortunately, Pucci managed to paddle to shore, leaving Inari struggling in the water. Moments later, Inari woke up to find Kaiza sitting beside him. Kaiza was a fisherman who had come to the area to pursue his dreams. From that day on, Kaiza and Inari became very close, forming a bond that felt like family. Kaiza became a father figure to Inari, and their connection deepened over time. Kaiza even saved the city from disaster when heavy rains threatened to overflow the dams. He bravely swam against the strong currents to secure the dam with a rope, earning the title of hero from the townspeople. Inari couldn't have been prouder of him. However, everything changed when Gato arrived in the city, and Kaiza stood up to him. In a shocking turn of events, Kaiza was executed in front of everyone. This tragic event transformed Inari, Tsunami, and the entire city. The next day, Naruto walked away after Tazuna finished explaining Inari's situation. Haku called out to him, but Naruto chose to ignore the question and vanished in a flicker. Later, during dinner, Inari burst into the room, expressing his frustration. He questioned why they were trying so hard, insisting that no matter how much they trained, they would never be able to defeat Gato's men. He believed that the weak would only end up suffering. The room fell silent. Naruto responded calmly, stating that he was different from Inari. Inari retorted, expressing his disdain for Naruto's ignorance about the hardships of their country. Tension filled the air as intense chakra radiated from Naruto. Sakura intervened, urging Naruto to stop. He snapped back at her, pointing out that she had lived a privileged life compared to the rest of them. Sakura fell silent, unable to respond. Naruto, frustrated, flickered away, while Inari ran off in distress. Kakashi and Zabuza followed Inari, while Haku searched for Naruto. Kakashi approached Inari, offering comfort and sharing that Naruto had also grown up without a father. He explained that Naruto had faced a rough childhood but had never complained. He understood suffering and strength, just like Inari's father. After their conversation, Kakashi and Zabuza left Inari alone to reflect on their words. The following day, everyone except Naruto went to the bridge to protect Tazuna. Naruto stayed in the forest, meditating, and promised to join them later. As Kakashi, Zabuza, Haku, Sasuke, and Sakura arrived at the bridge, they were met with a grim sight of injured individuals. Tazuna cried out in anguish, questioning what had happened. Meanwhile, Naruto dashed through the forest, leaping from branch to branch. He intended to reach Tazuna when he stumbled upon a severed boar and a trail of markings leading to Tazuna's home. Sensing danger, he returned to Tazuna's house, concealing his chakra to spy on Tsunami and Inari. A mercenary threatened Tsunami, demanding she come with them. Inari, terrified, called out for his mother, who urged him to run away. The bandits debated whether to take Inari as well, but ultimately decided against it. Inari trembled in fear, realizing the gravity of the situation. Tsunami, desperate, threatened to harm herself if they harmed Inari. The bandits laughed, dismissing her words. Inari sobbed silently, feeling helpless as he watched them take his mother away. He regretted not being strong enough to protect her and wondered if he could ever be as strong as his father. Suddenly, Inari shouted at the mercenaries, demanding they leave his mother alone. As he charged at them, Naruto appeared, enveloped in a powerful chakra. The bandits looked around nervously, but in an instant, they were defeated. Naruto freed Tsunami and removed her GG, apologizing for the previous day's events and reassuring Inari of his strength. Inari, still emotional, expressed his frustration about crying. Naruto reassured him that it was okay to cry in moments of happiness or relief, but it was important to stand strong in the face of adversity. He encouraged Inari to be strong and confident. With a newfound determination, Inari smiled and agreed to be strong. Naruto then flickered away, heading towards the bridge. The bridge was shrouded in thick mist as Team 7, Zabuza, and Haku remained alert for any signs of trouble. As the mist cleared, Gato appeared, mocking Zabuza for his failure to eliminate Tazuna. Naruto laughed, asserting that being a weak shinobi was far better than being like Gato, who only valued money. Zabuza, eager for revenge, asked for permission to take Gato's life. Naruto nodded in agreement. Zabuza charged forward, easily dispatching Gato's bodyguards. When it was Gato's turn, he pleaded for his life, offering money and promises. Zabuza dismissed his words, and the bridge was stained with the consequences of Gato's actions. Sakura and Tazuna cheered, though they were slightly unsettled by the violence, while the others smiled, knowing justice had been served. Sasuke smirked slightly. Suddenly, a mob appeared, shouting angrily about the shinobi who had disrupted their plans. They threatened to pillage the city, but Naruto was ready to engage when he noticed Inari leading the citizens of Wave onto the bridge, wielding everyday items as makeshift weapons. The villagers declared that they would defend their home with everything they had. The mercenaries, frightened, decided to retreat. The villagers cheered in triumph, celebrating their victory. 2 weeks later, the mission was complete. Tazuna expressed his gratitude for the bridge, though he felt a sense of sadness. Kakashi thanked him sincerely, while Haku bowed in appreciation, and Zabuza smirked at their interactions. Naruto encouraged Inari to express his emotions, and Inari smiled through his tears, asking Naruto to visit again. As Tazuna watched them leave, he reflected on how Naruto had changed Inari's heart, which in turn had transformed the hearts of the people. He decided they should name the bridge in Naruto's honor, calling it the Great Naruto Bridge. The villagers nodded in agreement. Later, Naruto asked where Haku and Zabuza were headed next. Haku admitted they were following him for now, and Naruto suggested they consider becoming proper shinobi. Zabuza agreed, noting that it would be safer than being on the run. Naruto mentioned he could help register them as shinobi in Konoha, and Zabuza thanked him, while Haku smiled. Soon after, Zabuza and Haku were officially registered as shinobi in Konoha. Haku became a jonin, assisting in the hospital and joining the high-class tracking team, while Zabuza joined the ANBU. They quickly fit in. Anko enjoyed teasing Haku about his appearance, and Zabuza connected well with Ibiki and Anko due to their shared interests. Hayate and Yugao also appreciated Zabuza's knowledge of kenjutsu. After a mission, Naruto was on his way home with Sakura trailing behind. He sensed Konohamaru and his friends, Udon and Moegi, following them. Naruto pointed out that Konohamaru's disguise was ineffective, as a rock could not pass for a person. Konohamaru, smirking, declared Naruto his rival and reminded him of their promise to play shinobi together. Naruto, uninterested in training, agreed to join them. Sakura questioned why a shinobi would play at being a shinobi, to which Konohamaru asked if she was Naruto's girlfriend. Naruto clarified that she was just his teammate, and Konohamaru expressed relief, finding Sakura unattractive. Suddenly, Sakura charged at Konohamaru, causing him to run away in fear until he collided with another boy who had purple face markings and cat ears. The blonde girl with 4 spiky ponytails scolded him for causing trouble. Sakura apologized for her antics, but Naruto coldly demanded the boy let go of Konohamaru. The boy grinned and suggested they play a little before their leader arrived. In an instant, Naruto was behind him, holding a senbon to his neck, warning him not to cause trouble, especially with the Hokage's grandson involved. Kankuro gulped and released Konohamaru. Sasuke, perched on a tree branch, appeared and questioned what was happening. Naruto rolled his eyes, explaining that they were there for the Chunin exams. Sasuke growled in frustration but remained silent. Kankuro, feeling embarrassed, was reprimanded by Gaara, who had just arrived. Gaara expressed his disdain for losing control in a fight and questioned their purpose in Konoha. Kankuro nervously apologized, and Gaara coldly stated they had arrived too early and were not there to play. Sasuke asked for Gaara's name, and when Temari blushed and stuttered, Gaara introduced himself as the Jinchuriki of the Ichibi, Shikaku. Naruto acknowledged this and flickered away, leaving Kankuro and Temari surprised by his knowledge. As Sasuke walked away, gritting his teeth in anger, Sakura admired his coolness. Konohamaru, Udon, and Moegi looked up to Naruto, thinking he was far cooler than their previous mentor. Sakura sighed, wondering why they were made to wait for someone who had called for them. What about the feelings of a young girl who overslept and didn't have time to blow dry her hair? Morning people greeted Kakashi, who casually mentioned that he got lost on the road of life. Naruto, with a fake smile, warned Kakashi that if he came late again, the books would be gone. Kakashi gulped and playfully told Naruto not to be too sadistic, noting that Anko, Ibiki, and Zabuza had been getting to him. He then announced that he had nominated them for the Chunin selection exam and handed out their applications. It was up to each of them whether to take the exam. They needed to sign the papers and turn them in at room 301 by 4 p.m. the next day. With that, Kakashi flickered away. Naruto thought about Kakashi's words, questioning why he was lying. The Chunin exam was a team commitment, and they all had to sign up to be eligible. He wondered if it was so Sakura could participate on her own terms, rather than for Sasuke or himself. Sakura was about to walk away when Naruto rushed to stop her. He asked if she really didn't want to take the exam. Sakura, feeling a bit lost, admitted that Naruto was right. Naruto reassured her that it was fine but emphasized that even though Sasuke was quiet and reserved, he would appreciate it if they all participated in the exam together. He encouraged Sakura to do it for herself, as she had the potential to become a great kunoichi if she let go of her fangirl tendencies. The next day, Sakura decided to join Naruto and Sasuke for the Chunin exams, inspired by Naruto's words. As they made their way to room 301, they sensed a genjutsu. Naruto warned them that it was meant to disguise the room number, and Sakura agreed. Sasuke, indifferent, noted that this was to eliminate the weaklings. Team 7 quietly ascended the stairs until Naruto spotted someone getting kicked in the stomach, prompting him to stop. He recognized Gai's students and Izumo and Kotetsu, thinking it would be entertaining. Sakura urged him to move on, but Naruto insisted they stay for a moment, certain even Sasuke would want to watch. One of the genin, addressing the group, explained that the Chunin exam was not easy, recounting their own failures and the harsh realities of the exam. Sasuke coolly remarked that while he agreed, they were pathetic. Naruto rolled his eyes, urging them to leave, while the two genins fell silent. Just as Team 7 was about to leave, a genin in green spandex introduced himself as Rock Lee and declared he would protect Sakura. She cringed at his enthusiasm and rejected him, calling him lame. Lee looked crestfallen, but his teammate pressed on, asking Sasuke for his name. Sasuke coolly replied that one should introduce themselves first. The genin persisted, asking Sasuke how old he was, but Sasuke refused to answer. Naruto, exasperated, urged them to move on. Sakura, excited, led the way upstairs, while the genins stared at them in confusion. Lee stood still, contemplating, and then decided to catch up with Team. He challenged Sasuke to a fight right there, declaring his name and insisting on testing his techniques against the Uchiha. Sasuke, cocky, accepted the challenge, while Naruto and Sakura expressed their concerns about the time before the meeting. Sakura pleaded with Sasuke not to engage in the fight, but her worries fell on deaf ears as the confrontation began. Suddenly, a group of leaf shinobi appeared, led by a man with multiple scars on his face. He introduced himself as Ibiki Marino, the examiner for the first test of the Chunin selection exam, and warned that fighting without permission was strictly prohibited. He made it clear that anyone who disobeyed would fail immediately. Naruto, recognizing Ibiki, laughed and greeted him, but Ibiki brushed him off. He then instructed everyone to pick a tab and sit in the assigned seats for the exam. After a few minutes, everyone settled down, and Ibiki reminded them not to turn over their tests yet, as he would explain the important rules for the first test. The instructor explained the rules while writing them on the board, stating that questions would not be allowed. The first rule established that each participant would start with 10 points. The test consisted of 10 questions, and for each incorrect answer, 1 point would be deducted from the initial 10. The second rule indicated that this was a team test, with the combined score of each team determining whether they would pass. Each team would compete to retain as many points as possible from the initial total of 30. Sakura, confused, questioned the reasoning behind the team format. The instructor dismissed her concerns, insisting that there was a purpose behind the rules and instructed everyone to listen carefully. He emphasized that anyone caught cheating would lose 2 points for each offense. He warned that those who lost all their initial points or failed to answer any questions correctly would fail along with their teammates. The exam would last for 1 hour, and then it began. Sasuke focused on the first question, a cryptogram, while Naruto and Sakura worked through the questions quickly. After 10 minutes, Naruto finished and had a sudden idea. He communicated with his teammates through a mental link, suggesting they exchange answers discreetly to increase their chances of success. As the exam progressed, many genin began to understand its true purpose. Kiba utilized Akamaru to observe others' answers, while Shino employed his bugs. Tenten and Lee cleverly used their forehead protectors as mirrors, and Niji and Hinata activated their Byakugan. Sasuke relied on his Sharingan, and Ino used her mind-body switch jutsu to copy answers from Sakura, even possessing Shikamaru and Choji to write their answers. Gaara employed his third eye, while Kankuro discreetly assisted Temari by dropping tiny scrolls with answers as he headed to the restroom. The sound Shinobi utilized sound detection devices to gauge the number of strokes in the answers. Finally, it was time for the 10th question. The instructor announced that participants needed to decide whether to take the question or not. If they chose not to participate, their points would drop to 0, resulting in failure alongside their teammates. Conversely, if they chose to answer and got it wrong, they would lose the opportunity to ever take the Chunin selection exam again. Temari expressed her frustration at the absurdity of the rule, while Kiba voiced his anger, pointing out that some had taken the exam before. The instructor chuckled, explaining that this year the rules were his. He offered a way out for those lacking confidence, allowing them to opt out and try again later. He instructed those unwilling to take the question to raise their hands and leave. As participants began to withdraw, Naruto encouraged those remaining, asserting that ranks did not define strength and that competition was what made the exam exciting. Despite his encouragement, many chose to leave, and the instructor noted the surprising number of participants still present. With the remaining candidates, the instructor congratulated them on passing the first test, much to their confusion. They questioned the purpose of the previous 9 questions, which seemed pointless. The instructor clarified that those questions had served to test their information-gathering abilities, emphasizing that the success of the test relied on teamwork. He explained that the test was designed to encourage cheating, with Chunins mixed in among the participants to provide answers. However, those who cheated poorly would fail, as information was crucial in the shinobi world, often risking lives to obtain it. Removing his forehead protector revealed scars and marks from past experiences. He reminded them that information could be a powerful weapon for their comrades and village. The test had been a way to identify those with the right skills for gathering information. Temari still struggled to understand the final question's significance. The instructor elaborated that the decision to take or not take the 10th question represented a painful choice. Those who opted out would fail, while those who chose to answer risked losing the chance to take the exam again, a true leap of faith. He posed a scenario where they might become Chunins tasked with stealing a secret document, highlighting the unknown dangers they would face. Now, did you accept or not? Because you don't want to die or hurt your comrades, can you avoid this dangerous mission? No matter the danger, there are missions you can't avoid. The ability to be courageous and to survive any hardship is essential to becoming a Chunin captain. Those who can't put their destinies on the line, who cling to the uncertain future of "there's always next year," and walk away from their chance. Those who make such cowardly choices don't deserve to be Chunins. You have made it through the entrance. The first test of the Chunin selection exam is now finished. Good luck to you all. Suddenly, the window shattered, and there was a loud crash of glass. Ibiki thought to himself that this was not good. Naruto felt a chill run down his spine, fearing it was Anko. The examiner for the second test, Mitarashi Anko, announced that it was no time to celebrate and instructed everyone to follow her. Anko approached Ibiki and exclaimed about the number of teams that had passed, expressing her frustration that the test had been too easy this time. Ibiki defended the participants, giving credit to the talented ones among them. Anko playfully threatened Naruto, claiming he ruined her fun, to which he sheepishly apologized, thinking a little encouragement would lift their spirits. Anko, excited for the second test, promised to explain everything once they changed locations. The remaining 26 teams followed Anko until they reached a forest. A gate with signs warning people to stay out surrounded the area. Anko welcomed them to the stage for the second test, known as the Forest of Death, hinting at the dangers they would soon discover. Naruto, unimpressed, urged her to stop being so dramatic. Anko smirked and playfully threw a kunai at him, which he caught effortlessly. She expressed her eagerness for the challenge ahead, while a grass ninja nearby laughed maniacally at the mention of blood. Anko noted the presence of many bloodthirsty participants, which only added to her excitement. Before starting the second test, she handed out agreement forms, warning that there would be dangers and potential deaths during the test, and that they needed to be responsible for their own safety. She explained the survival test, detailing the layout of Practice Arena 44, the locked gates, and the central tower, which was about 10 kilometers away. The teams would compete in a no-rules scroll battle for 2 scrolls, Heaven and Earth. Half of the teams would receive one type of scroll, and to pass, they needed to reach the tower with both scrolls. Sakura realized that 13 teams would lose their scrolls, meaning half would likely fail. Anko continued, informing them of the time limit of 120 hours, or 5 days. Choji complained about the lack of food, but Anko assured them that the forest was full of food, albeit with dangers such as man-eating beasts and poisonous plants. She warned that as time passed, success would become harder, and some would fail or even perish. She also outlined the disqualification rules. If they didn't reach the tower with both scrolls before time ran out, if a teammate died or went missing, or if they looked inside the scrolls before reaching the tower, there would be no quitting in the middle, and her final piece of advice was simple: don't die. Soon after, everyone was assembled at their gates and ready to go. Anko announced the start of the second test of the Chunin selection exam, and Naruto smirked, ready for action as the gates opened. As the teams made their way to the tower, Kiba clarified that they should set traps since everyone was heading in the same direction. A Konoha team observed Team 8 from the treetops, mocking their open position. They sensed the presence of the other team but were unaware of their exact location. One of them suddenly screamed upon seeing a leech on his arm, and soon, a swarm of leeches descended upon them, causing chaos as they struggled to detach them. Kiba smirked, explaining that Konoha's jumping leeches would sense life forms and attack in groups, and that 5 minutes of sking could be fatal. Just then, the genins were ensnared in a net trap. Anko watched the unfolding events with a satisfied grin, knowing the test had begun. Meanwhile, Naruto sighed as Sakura urged him to hurry. It had only been a few minutes into the exam, but he felt the need to find a bathroom. He informed his teammates that he would be back shortly after taking care of business. Upon returning, Naruto felt relieved and expressed his satisfaction. Sasuke, however, narrowed his eyes and suddenly attacked, landing a punch on Naruto's face. Confused, Naruto questioned Sasuke's actions, while Sakura scolded him for going too far. Sasuke demanded to know where the real Naruto was, pointing out inconsistencies that made him doubt the person in front of him. Sasuke looked at Naruto with an arrogant smirk, declaring him a fake loser who was worse at transforming. Naruto responded with a smirk of his own, reverting to his original form as Sasuke prepared for a fierce battle. After a narrow escape, Sasuke decided to escalate the situation. He unleashed a powerful technique, Fire Release, Phoenix Sage Fire Jutsu. The grass ninja dodged and flickered behind Sasuke, demanding the scroll or threatening to take his life. Sasuke remained motionless, but just as the grass ninja reached for the scroll, a Senbon was thrown, stopping him in his tracks. It was Naruto. Frustrated, the grass ninja cursed and flickered away. Sasuke thought to himself about the cowardice of his opponent. Later, Sasuke gathered his teammates, explaining the importance of a code word for their safety. He instructed them that if they encountered someone and were unsure, they should use the code word. If it was answered incorrectly, that person would be considered an enemy. He recited the code word, which involved a phrase about loud enemies being friends to shinobi and the importance of understanding when to act. Sakura confirmed she understood, while Naruto jokingly suggested they make it longer. Suddenly, the area filled with smoke, causing the three to jump back and become separated once again. As the smoke cleared, Sakura spotted Sasuke and rushed to him, expressing her relief at seeing him unharmed. Sasuke reminded her of the code word, and she recited it correctly. Naruto soon joined them, asking if they were all right. Sasuke reminded him about the code word, and Naruto, eager but slightly forgetful, repeated it correctly. Sasuke smirked and playfully threw a kunai at Naruto, who dodged just in time. Sakura, confused, questioned Sasuke's actions, but he explained that Naruto was skilled enough to evade his attacks. The grass ninja then revealed himself, laughing maniacally and questioning how Sasuke had identified him as a fake. Sasuke noted that Naruto's speech was smoother and less brash, which gave him away. The grass ninja, intrigued, acknowledged that they were not tired or ill-prepared, hinting that the encounter would be more entertaining than he had anticipated. He then took out his scroll and swallowed it whole, licking his lips as he declared the battle for their scrolls would begin, with their lives at stake. Both Sasuke and the grass ninja took their stances, and the fight commenced. The grass ninja threw a kunai at Sakura, who stood frozen in fear. The kunai embedded itself into a tree behind her, and Sasuke realized it was a genjutsu, a mere illusion created by the grass ninja's killing intent. Sasuke trembled, warning Sakura that they needed to run to avoid death. The grass ninja laughed, claiming they could no longer move. Sasuke, desperate, forced himself to act, stabbing a kunai into his hand to overcome his fear. He pulled Sakura into the bushes to hide, groaning in pain as he removed the kunai. The grass ninja mocked them, reminding them that prey should always be trying to escape from a predator. Sasuke, in a moment of desperation, offered the scroll to the grass ninja, pleading for him to take it and leave them alone. The grass ninja acknowledged Sasuke's cleverness, understanding that sometimes prey must offer a different meal to escape. Just then, Naruto appeared, catching the scroll before the grass ninja could. He chastised Sasuke for considering surrender, emphasizing that now was not the time to humble himself, especially against someone like their opponent. Sasuke insisted that the grass ninja was out of their league, but Sakura defended Naruto, asserting that he was not a coward. Sasuke felt his blood boil, and his Sharingan activated, the tomo spinning wildly. The grass ninja recognized the shift in Sasuke's demeanor and prepared for a more intense confrontation. Sasuke launched an attack, throwing a kick and several weapons at the grass ninja, who noted Sasuke's skill in reading his movements. Sasuke discreetly wound some string behind the grass ninja and called out his technique, Sharingan manipulating windmill blades. The grass ninja smirked, impressed, while Naruto felt a surge of pride for his teammate. Sakura cheered for Sasuke, who felt a newfound power rising within him as he prepared to unleash fire release, Fire Dragon Jutsu. The grass ninja acknowledged Sasuke's talent, recognizing him as a true Uchiha and expressing his enjoyment in testing Sasuke's abilities. He sensed power in her eyes that surpassed Itachi, laughing maniacally. Sasuke demanded to know who he was. The figure introduced himself as Orochimaru, but Naruto coldly warned him to disappear unless he wanted a repeat of their last encounter. Orochimaru remarked that Naruto could have made a good vessel if he weren't so opposed to him. He taunted that if Naruto wanted to see him again, he needed to survive and pass the exam, defeating his men, the Sound Trio, along the way. Sakura shouted in anger, expressing their desire never to see Orochimaru again. Orochimaru ominously replied that things wouldn't go that way. Suddenly, he extended his neck and bit Sasuke on the neck, branding him with a curse seal. Sakura cried out, questioning why Orochimaru would do such a thing. Orochimaru laughed, stating he needed immortality and that Sasuke would seek him for power, predicting that Naruto's world would soon crumble. Sasuke groaned in pain, clutching his neck. Sakura demanded to know what Orochimaru had done to him. Orochimaru simply said he had given Sasuke a going-away present before disappearing. The sun would rise in less than an hour. After a day of gathering food and water, most teams were resting. Naruto proposed they attack during this time as planned, suggesting they split up for 30 minutes to scout the area and return promptly. Tenten agreed, and Lee saluted, while Neji smirked, ready to go. Sakura watched as Naruto used his medical ninjutsu to heal Sasuke's wounds. He noted that Sasuke's breathing had returned to normal, but he still had a strong fever. Naruto instructed Sakura to stay with Sasuke while he went to collect herbs, assuring her that if anything happened, she could signal him with a smoke bomb. Sakura nodded, expressing her gratitude and apologizing for being annoying in the past. Naruto smiled, reassuring her everything would be fine. As Naruto disappeared, Sakura began setting up bubei traps for safety. Sasuke was sweating profusely and groaning in pain. Sakura dampened a cloth with water and placed it on his forehead, praying for Naruto's quick return. Tiredness threatened to overtake her, but she shook her head, reminding herself not to fall asleep. Suddenly, she heard rustling leaves and her heart raced. Taking out her kunai, she threw it at the sound, only to find it was just a squirrel. Relieved, she returned to caring for Sasuke. Meanwhile, hidden in the trees, the sound trio observed her. One of them noted her keen awareness, questioning why she had noticed the explosive tag on the squirrel. Another teammate suggested they would find out when they got closer, and they moved in. Lee was scouting the area, training as he went. He thought that if he could catch all 20 leaves before they hit the ground, Sakura would start to like him. He somersaulted off a branch, catching the leaves gracefully. Just before he caught the last leaf, he spotted a squirrel with an explosive tag on its back. He quickly caught the squirrel and removed the tag just in time before it crumbled. Relieved, he ran back to the meeting spot. Niji sighed in annoyance as he sensed Team 10 hiding behind some bushes. He called for them to come out. Ino thought their hiding attempt had failed and decided to switch to a new plan. Team 10 emerged, and Ino excitedly gushed over meeting last year's top rookie, Hyuga Niji. Niji, unimpressed, walked away, causing Ino to feel frustrated that her charm had failed. Shikamaru deadpanned about their misfortune, and Ino, feeling embarrassed, was left wondering how Niji had seen through her act. Niji coldly told them to leave, asserting that taking a scroll from cowards would only make him a laughingstock. Team 10 quickly ran off, and Niji thought of them as pathetic. After escaping Niji, Team 10 reached a clearing and collapsed, panting. Ino rallied them to find weaker opponents, while Shikamaru lamented their own weaknesses. Suddenly, a voice broke the silence, startling Sakura. Dosu ordered her to wake Sasuke, revealing they wanted to fight him. Sakura, trembling, reached for her kunai, demanding to know what Orochimaru's purpose was and what the strange mark on Sasuke's neck meant. Dosu pondered Orochimaru's intentions, realizing they couldn't let Sakura go. Zaku expressed his desire to eliminate both Sakura and Sasuke, his impatience evident. Dosu, however, cautioned him, pointing out the signs of a trap nearby that could easily be overlooked. He suggested that since they had no use for Sakura, they should dispose of her. Before the sound trio could act, Sakura triggered another one of her traps. Dosu's eyes widened at the sight of an incoming log, but he smirked and effortlessly destroyed it with his sound techniques. Sakura was taken aback, and as she reached for a smoke bomb to signal Naruto for help, Zaku snatched it from her hands, rendering it useless. She felt a wave of despair wash over her as she faced the sound trio. Dosu taunted her, claiming that she lacked talent and needed to work harder to become stronger. Just then, a familiar voice cut through the tension, declaring that they should also strive to improve. It was Rock Lee, the beautiful green beast of the hidden leaf. Sakura was surprised to see him and felt a rush of gratitude as she slumped to the ground, thanking him for his timely arrival. Lee vowed to protect her, a promise he had made before. Dosu, dismissing Sakura's capabilities, prepared to engage Lee instead. Sakura attempted to throw a kunai at Dosu, but he dodged it effortlessly and charged at Lee. In response, Lee braced himself for impact as Dosu's attack sent shockwaves through the ground. Lee recognized that he would need to give everything he had to overcome the odds stacked against him. Meanwhile, Ino expressed her frustration at not being able to find any weaker opponents, while Shikamaru pointed out that the only ones weaker than them would likely be Naruto's team. Choji suddenly noticed that Sasuke was unconscious and that Sakura was in a dire situation. As they waited for Lee at their meeting spot, Ten wondered about his unusual tardiness, while Niji dismissed her concerns. Lee recalled, Gai-sensei's warning about the forbidden lotus technique, which he could only use when protecting someone precious. He leaped in front of Dosu as he prepared to attack again, disappearing from sight. When he reappeared, he landed a kick on Dosu's chin, catching him off guard. But Lee wasn't finished. He swiftly wrapped Dosu in his bandages and unleashed the initial lotus technique. Though Dosu was momentarily stunned, he quickly regained his composure and prepared to retaliate. Lee, feeling the strain on his body, struggled to keep fighting. Dosu mocked him, claiming that his speed was unmatched and that Lee would soon succumb to the effects of his sound attacks. Despite the overwhelming odds, Lee refused to give up. He drew upon his training and the faith Gai-sensei had in him, charging at Dosu once more with a determined spirit. However, just as he was about to execute his move, pain coursed through his body, causing him to fall. Sakura, witnessing Lee's struggle, sprang into action, throwing kunai at Dosu in a desperate attempt to protect him. Meanwhile, Choji urged Ino to retreat, realizing the severity of the situation. Shikamaru reminded her of their past friendship with Sakura, prompting Ino to reflect on their shared memories. As Sakura continued to fight, she launched shurikens at Dosu, but Zuka deflected them effortlessly. In a cruel twist, Dosu's teammate yanked Sakura down by her hair, mocking her appearance and questioning her dedication to training. Zaku instructed his companion to eliminate Sasuke in front of the boy, intending to teach him a lesson. Kin agreed with a smirk, and Sakura's eyes widened in fear as she realized the danger. Frantically, she thought about her past, feeling tired of being weak and always needing protection. This time, she resolved to protect others. Determined, Sakura pulled out a kunai, but Kin laughed dismissively, claiming it wouldn't work against her. Sakura, undeterred, smirked back and made a bold move by cutting her hair, surprising everyone around her. As Zuka shouted for Kin to kill Sakura, she executed a clever substitution, dodging Kin's punch. Seizing the moment, she threw a barrage of kunais at them. Zaku attempted an attack, but Sakura again used a substitution, evading him. Just as Zaku was distracted, she leapt out, catching him off guard and managing to get him in a headlock. Desperate to escape, she bit his arm and demanded he let go. Ino watched the fight unfold in horror, memories flooding back of a time when she had encouraged Sakura to embrace her appearance confidently. Zaku, furious, declared Sakura would pay for her defiance. Just as he prepared to strike, Team 10 intervened, surprising Zaku with their presence. Dosu taunted them, calling them more leaf insects, while Ino confidently declared she wouldn't lose to Sakura. Choji hesitated, but Shikamaru urged him to stay and help, knowing they had to support Ino. When Zaku insulted Choji, he exploded in anger, asserting he was not fat but just chubby. Ino encouraged Sakura to focus on Sasuke while they unleashed their team's true power. Choji transformed and rolled toward Zaku, who attempted to blast him away but ended up being knocked down instead. Shikamaru used his shadow imitation jutsu, immobilizing Dosu, while Ino prepared her mind-body switch jutsu. Kin fell unconscious as Ino took control of her body, threatening the others to leave if they wanted to save her. Zaku retaliated, blasting Ino and Kin away, causing Ino to worry for her teammate when she saw blood. Dosu revealed their true goal was not the scrolls but Sasuke, analyzing the situation and dismissing the Leaf's chances. Just then, Niji appeared, ready to confront them. Sasuke awakened, his body marked by Orochimaru's curse. He expressed a newfound power and determination, declaring his intent to seek vengeance. Zaku, confident, dismissed Sasuke's threats, but before he could act, Naruto arrived, sensing the danger. Naruto questioned Sakura about the situation, and she explained the chaos. Sasuke demanded Naruto let go of Zaku, who was in pain from the headlock. Sasuke charged at Zaku, twisting his arms, causing him to scream in agony. Naruto, realizing the threat of Sasuke's curse mark, intervened, teleporting behind him to hit a pressure point, causing the mark to recede. He explained to Sasuke that it was for his own good, preventing him from losing control. Dosu, seeing the tide turn, offered Naruto an Earth Scroll as a parting gift, suggesting they would face each other again in the future. As the Sound Nin retreated, Niji contemplated Sasuke's strength, while Tenten rushed to Lee, urging him to wake up and explaining that Naruto had driven the enemies away. She expressed concern for their plan and Lee's injuries, eager to regroup and strategize. Tenten scolded Lee, calling him an idiot. Lee, trying to defend himself, mentioned that Sakura was in trouble. Sakura smiled at him, feeling grateful and as if she had awakened. Lee promised her that he would be stronger the next time they met, winking as Sakura returned his smile. Ino called out to Sakura, excitedly offering to fix her hair, prompting Sakura to grin and run over. Kiba leaped from branch to branch, exclaiming that they were experiencing true survival. He felt fortunate that their opponents had fallen for the trap and had an earth scroll, believing they would be the first to reach the tower. Shino, remaining cool and collected, cautioned Kiba to be careful and not draw attention. Kiba playfully growled at Shino, insisting he was the team leader. Hinata timidly agreed with Shino, expressing her concern for the team and Naruto. Suddenly, Kiba caught a scent and asked Hinata to scout ahead. She activated her Byakugan and reported that people were fighting nearby. Shino listened closely and noted that there were 6 individuals involved. Kiba was eager to investigate, insisting that if they collected more scrolls, they would have fewer teams to worry about. Despite Hinata's hesitation, Kiba encouraged them to check it out, promising that they would avoid a fight if it looked dangerous. Meanwhile, an AIM ninja scoffed at Gaara, calling him foolish for challenging them directly. Gaara, however, was ready to fight, insisting they should first check the scrolls. As the AIM ninja launched an attack with his umbrellas, Gaara remained motionless, summoning a protective sand dome around himself. He coldly declared his intent to make it rain blood, using his powers to swiftly defeat the AIM ninjas, burying them underground. Team 8 watched in horror as the scene unfolded. Kankuro discovered the Heaven Scroll among the fallen enemies, and while he was pleased, Gaara expressed his desire for more destruction. Kiba, feeling the tension, worried that they had been noticed. Gaara taunted him, and after a brief exchange, the Suna team departed, leaving Team 8 to breathe a sigh of relief. Kiba remarked on how dangerous Gaara was. Enko observed that the Sand team had completed the exam in a record time, surpassing the previous record. Naruto and Sasuke caught fish for lunch, while Sakura prepared the fire. Enko mentioned Orochimaru's presence at the exams, prompting Hiruzen to confirm they would proceed with caution. Enko noted that 7 teams had passed, and for the first time in 5 years, there would be a preliminary round before the 3rd test. Enko congratulated the participants on passing the 2nd test and introduced Hiruzen, who explained the true purpose of the exam, to determine who had the courage to risk their lives for their country. A shinobi named Gekahei stepped forward to explain the rules of the preliminary round. He informed the genins that those who wished to withdraw could do so now, as they would begin immediately. Kabuto sheepishly stepped forward, citing his injuries as the reason for his withdrawal. Naruto, suspicious of Kabuto's motives, warned Sakura to keep an eye on him. Just as Heiei confirmed there were no more withdrawals, Sasuke suddenly spasmed in pain, prompting Sakura to urge him to quit. Naruto insisted that Sasuke should participate, arguing that he was determined to prove his strength. Despite Sakura's concerns about Sasuke's condition, Naruto reassured her that he would help Sasuke with the curse mark after the preliminary round. Heiei resumed speaking, explaining that the preliminary would consist of 10 matches, with winners advancing to the 3rd test. He emphasized that there were no rules, and battles would continue until opponents admitted defeat or were incapacitated. The board on the wall displayed the matchups for each battle, and the first battle was announced. The names flickered until it settled on Uchiha Sasuke versus Akado Yoroi. Sasuke smirked, while Sakura's eyes widened in concern, wondering why Sasuke had to fight first. Heiei called for the competitors to come to the front and asked if they were ready. They both affirmed their readiness. Heiei instructed everyone not participating to move to the upper level and then signaled for the match to begin. Yoroi slid across the floor and tackled Sasuke to the ground. Caught off guard by the sudden attack, Sasuke struggled to move. Yoroi grinned as he placed his hand on Sasuke's hair, and Sasuke fought against him, feeling his strength wane. Sasuke grunted in frustration, realizing that Yoroi was siphoning his chakra. With a surge of determination, he kicked Yoroi off him, who landed gracefully on the floor. Yoroi charged again, his chakra absorber activated, throwing punches that Sasuke barely dodged. From above, Naruto taunted Sasuke, questioning his abilities and calling into question his status as an Uchiha. Yoroi charged once more, but Sasuke vanished, reappearing right in front of Yoroi and delivering a powerful kick to his chin, sending him into the air. Lee and Guy watched in astonishment, recognizing Sasuke's technique. Sasuke leapt into the air, shadowing Yoroi and declaring his intention to go original. Just as he prepared to deliver the finishing blow, his curse mark reacted, causing his body to spasm. However, Sasuke's desire to prove himself overpowered Orochimaru's influence, and the curse mark receded, surprising Enko, Kakashi, and Orochimaru. Sasuke unleashed a powerful roundhouse kick, sending Yoroi plummeting to the ground. Though Yoroi was not yet defeated, Sasuke was relentless, kicking him down once more until Yoroi lay defeated on the ground. Hate announced Sasuke as the winner of the first match. Naruto called for Sasuke to join him, reminding him of their promise with Sakura. Sasuke nodded and leapt to the spectator stand, walking off with Naruto. The crowd watched with curiosity as the two left, and Sakura understood what was happening, though she wasn't the only one. Hiruzen, Anko, Hayate, and Kakashi realized Naruto intended to seal Orochimaru's curse mark. Despite their doubts about Naruto's skill, they knew he should not be underestimated, and Orochimaru hissed in frustration, feeling powerless. The board flickered again, stopping at Abumi Zaku vs. Aburame Shino. They both jumped down to the arena, and Zaku scoffed at Shino. Hayate announced the start of the second match. Shino calmly stated that if Za fought, he would be finished and should forfeit. Zaku arrogantly declared that one arm was enough to defeat Shino. They charged at each other, and Shino attempted to punch Zaku, but Zaku blocked it. Despite struggling against Zaku's strength, Shino remained confident. Zaku shouted in anger and unleashed a blast that sent Shino back, but when the smoke cleared, Shino stood unscathed. Bugs crawled across Shino's face, and then, in a massive swarm, they surrounded Zaku. Shino explained that his bugs were destruction bugs that attacked in large numbers to feed on chakra. He warned Zaku to always have a trump card. Zaku, enraged, pulled his right arm out of his sling, claiming it was his trump card. Dosu smirked, realizing Zaku was pretending his arm was useless. However, before Zaku could act, one of his arms exploded, falling off. Shino revealed that he had instructed his bugs to clog Zaku's hand holes, demonstrating a true trump card. Hayate intervened, declaring the match over and announcing Shino as the winner. Naruto appeared next to Sakura, informing her that Sasuke was fine but tired from chakra depletion and was resting in a hospital bed. Sakura sighed in relief. The next match was announced between Tsurugi Misumi and Kankuro. Kankuro smirked as he removed the bandaged object from behind his back. Misumi charged and threw a punch, which Kankuro deftly blocked. However, Misumi had a trick up his sleeve, sliding past Kankuro and attempting to choke him from behind. He threatened to suffocate Kankuro if he didn't forfeit. Kankuro smiled confidently, refusing to give in. Misumi threatened him again, but Kankuro remained cocky. Suddenly, there was a loud snap, and Kankuro's neck broke. Misumi, shocked, remarked that Kankuro had made him kill him. Kankuro's head turned around, revealing a cracked face with no eyes, and he asked if it was his turn now in an eerie voice. Kankuro transformed into a puppet and began to strangle Misumi, while the real Kankuro revealed himself as the puppeteer. Hayate declared that the battle could not continue and announced Kankuro as the winner. He then called for the fourth battle between Haruno Sakura and Yamanaka Ino to come down to the arena. The two leapt down and glared at each other. Ino stated that she never expected to fight Sakura, emphasizing that this was not about Sasuke but a battle between two kunoichi. She expressed that she had moved on from her feelings for Sasuke, which she now viewed as foolish. Sakura smirked, pulling a ribbon from her forehead protector and returning it to Ino, signaling her readiness to fight. Sakura created clones of herself and charged at Ino, who scoffed, dismissing Sakura's textbook jutsu. Sakura grinned, and one of her clones suddenly exploded from the ground, knocking Ino down. Sakura urged Ino to take the fight seriously, while Ino smirked, ready for the challenge. They both ran towards each other, with Sakura throwing a punch that Ino blocked with her hand. The two stood there for a while, testing each other's strength. Realizing it was futile, they both growled and jumped back. Sakura threw a shuriken, but Ino blocked it with her own. They charged at each other once more. Sakura's fist collided with Ino's face, while Ino landed a punch on Sakura. The impact sent them both reeling backward. Ino, filled with determination, declared that there was no way Sakura could match her. Sakura smirked, suggesting that it was impossible for her to be on the same level as someone who only cared about appearances. Ino, shaking with anger, cut off her hair with a kunai, vowing to end the fight right then and there. Sakura, unfazed, taunted Ino, claiming that her technique would fail. Ino insisted that they had to try, activating her mind transfer jutsu. As Ino's head dropped, Sakura smirked, believing Ino had missed her chance. Just as Sakura was about to deliver the final blow, she found herself unable to move. Looking down, she realized that Ino had ensnared her with a special chakra hair rope. Ino mocked Sakura for not seeing through her trap and prepared to enter Sakura's body once more. However, just as she began the transfer, Naruto's voice broke through, urging Sakura to fight back for herself, not for anyone else. Sakura's willpower surged, causing her to spasm as Ino's confidence faltered. Ino had thought she was the only one in Sakura's mind, but she was mistaken. Inner Sakura was determined not to lose to her rival. Realizing she needed to release the jutsu to avoid breaking her own body, Ino quickly undid the mind transfer and returned to her own form. The spectators were astonished at Sakura's strength of will, which had forced Ino out, all thanks to Naruto's encouragement. Sakura smirked and charged at Ino, who did the same. They both declared their intent to win before their fists connected with each other's faces, sending them both crashing to the ground, unconscious. The announcer declared that both fighters were unable to continue, resulting in no winner for the match. Sakura and Ino were taken to the side as the fifth match commenced between Temari and Tenten. Tenten hurled her weapons at Temari, but Temari easily deflected them with her fan. As her fan reached the second moon, she unleashed a powerful gust of wind that sent Tenten flying back, landing directly onto Temari's fan. The announcer then declared Temari the winner of the fifth match. As the tension in the arena continued to rise, anticipation built for Naruto's upcoming fight against Kiba, promising an exciting showdown ahead. Temari sighed as she threw Tenten off her fan, but Lee leapt up and caught her skillfully. Temari smirked, complimenting Lee on his catch while he fumed in frustration. He questioned why she would treat Tenten that way, given that she had fought hard against her. Temari coldly dismissed Lee's concern, calling Tenten pathetic and instructing him to take her and leave. Lee trembled with rage and launched into an attack, executing a leaf whirlwind. However, his leg collided with Temari's fan, and Gaara sighed, instructing Temari to come up to the winner's platform and stop wasting time with Lee. The next match began, featuring Tsuchi-kin against Nara Shikamaru. Shikamaru sighed as he jumped down to the arena, aware of his disadvantage. Kin had already seen his jutsu, and he was up against a woman. Nevertheless, he resolved to give it his all. He initiated his shadow imitation jutsu, but Kin laughed, confident that as long as she watched his shadow, she had nothing to fear. Shikamaru chased Kin with his shadow, but she dodged each attempt, staying just out of reach. After a moment, she decided to get serious, pulling senbons from her pocket and flinging them against the wall. Shikamaru recognized the trick, smirking at her old strategy. However, he soon realized too late that Kin had set a trap with strings. She punched him, causing him to fall back onto the ground. Kin prepared to finish him off, but to her surprise, she found herself immobilized, caught in Shikamaru's shadow. He chuckled, revealing that his shadow could be manipulated. Kin's realization dawned on her as she understood the nature of the trap. Shikamaru then produced a shuriken, and Kin mirrored his action, surprised. She questioned the wisdom of their simultaneous attacks, but Shikamaru was undeterred, eager to see the outcome. They threw their shurikens at each other, and while Shikamaru dodged, Kin collided with the wall behind her. Shikamaru smirked, reminding her that as shinobi, they should use their surroundings to their advantage. Team 10 cheered as Hayate announced Shikamaru as the winner. The next match was set, Uzumaki Naruto vs Inuzuka Kiba. Both leapt down to the arena, with Kiba boasting about an easy victory, claiming he could defeat Naruto with a single punch. Ignoring Kiba's bravado, Naruto turned to Hayate, inquiring about his cough. Hayate smiled, thanking Naruto for his concern. Naruto then smirked, teasing Hayate about his relationship with Yugao, causing Hayate to blush. As the match began, Kiba crouched and performed hand seals, transforming into his beast mimicry form. He charged at Naruto, slamming him against the wall and declaring his victory. However, it was revealed to be a shadow clone. Naruto appeared right behind Kiba, laughing and reminding him not to underestimate him. Kiba, furious, insisted that Naruto face him like a man. Naruto pointed out that they both had their own strategies and suggested they begin the real fight. Kiba fed Akamaru a soldier pill, causing him to grow larger, and together they charged at Naruto. However, Naruto skillfully dodged their attacks. The impulsive nature of Kiba's jutsu worked against him, as he and Akamaru struggled to change direction in time. They growled, demanding Naruto to stop dodging. Naruto smirked, noting that he hadn't moved an inch since the fight began. Kiba charged again, unleashing his ultimate technique, but Naruto evaded once more, throwing senbons that struck both Kiba and Akamaru, rendering them unconscious. Hayate declared Naruto the winner as he pulled the senbons from his opponents, reviving them. The board flickered, revealing the next match, Hyuga Neji vs Hyuga Hinata. Hinata paled as Neji smirked, taunting her about her lack of shinobi qualities. He urged her to forfeit, claiming she was too kind and lacked confidence. Hinata, feeling the weight of his words, murmured that she wanted to change herself. Neji continued to belittle her, asserting that people could not change and that she was weak. He activated his Byakugan, dissecting her body language and revealing her insecurities. Just as he was about to continue, Naruto intervened, asserting that Hinata was stronger than Neji believed. He encouraged her to fight for herself. Hinata, inspired by Naruto's words, declared her determination not to run away any longer. She activated her Byakugan, ready to face Neji. Both fighters took their stances and charged at each other, exchanging blows, but neither could land a hit. Neji struck, grazing Hinata's arm, but she was far from finished. The battle continued, with Hinata landing occasional strikes, but Neji's speed and skill kept him in the lead. He landed a hit on her chest, causing her to cough, but she remained resolute, determined to prove herself. Hinata landed a blow on Neji's neck, but Neji swiftly targeted an opening on her arm. She gasped in pain and fell back, realizing the match was nearing its end. Neji declared the difference between them, stating that she was merely a loser in comparison to him, an elite. He urged her to forfeit, emphasizing that reality could not be changed. Despite coughing up blood, Hinata stood up, though she was unsteady. She resolved not to back down, recalling Naruto's words about his own determination. Neji commanded her to come at him, and although Hinata attempted to charge, she doubled over, blood spilling from her mouth as she clutched her stomach in agony. Naruto encouraged her, urging her to fight for herself. A spark of strength returned to Hinata's eyes as she charged at Neji once more. However, Neji maintained the upper hand, grabbing her arm and throwing her back. Hinata, undeterred, charged again, but Neji pressed a chakra point on her stomach, causing her to collapse to the ground. The spectators felt a wave of pity, knowing the likely outcome, but Naruto's belief in Hinata remained unwavering. He shouted for her to keep fighting and prove her worth. To everyone's astonishment, Hinata managed to stand again, albeit shakily. Neji, frustrated, questioned her persistence, warning that she would only bring harm to herself. He insisted that she should give up, claiming that people could not change their destinies. Hinata countered, asserting that it was Neji who was lost and suffering under the weight of their family's expectations. Neji, filled with anger, charged at her, but the referee intervened, declaring the match over. Hayate stepped in front of Hinata to protect her, while Guy and Kakashi restrained Neji. Kurenai knelt beside Hinata, and Naruto helped her to her feet. Guy admonished Neji for losing control, reminding him of his promise not to let family ties affect him. Niji scoffed, dismissing the intervention as favoritism toward the main family. Hinata's eyes widened in distress, and she suddenly doubled over, feeling unwell. Naruto quickly lifted her in his arms and gently placed her on the ground. He began to heal her with his medical ninjutsu, while the onlookers watched in shock. As Hinata coughed up more blood, Naruto realized she was in serious trouble. He began performing CPR, but it seemed futile. She had pushed herself too far. In a flash, he transported her away, determined to save her. Kurenai glared at Niji, then looked back at Hinata's previous spot, filled with despair but still hopeful that Naruto would succeed. Before the next match began, Naruto returned to the arena. Hayate announced the upcoming battle between Gaara and Rock Lee. The two competitors jumped into the arena, and Lee expressed his excitement at facing Gaara so early in the tournament. Lee charged at Gaara, initiating an attack, but Gaara's sand quickly intercepted him, sending him flying back. Undeterred, Lee rushed at Gaara again, but each of his punches was blocked by the sand. Frustrated, Guy encouraged Lee to remove his leg weights, granting him permission despite Lee's hesitation. With a grin, Lee complied, shedding the weights. Temari scoffed, doubting Lee's ability to keep up with Gaara's sand. Lee charged again, kicking up dust, but this time he aimed for Gaara's back. He landed a punch to Gaara's face, followed by a kick to his head, and then a punch that knocked Gaara down. However, Lee quickly realized that Gaara was unharmed, protected by a layer of sand armor. Refusing to give up, Lee began to unravel his bandages and charged once more. He executed a series of rapid kicks to Gaara's chin, wrapping him in his bandages and performing the initial lotus technique. Gaara was driven into the ground, but to everyone's shock, he was still encased in sand armor. A maniacal voice echoed as Gaara revealed himself, performing a hand seal that summoned spikes of hardened sand to pierce Lee against the wall. Yet, Lee remained determined, believing that a true shinobi could achieve greatness without relying on ninjutsu or genjutsu. He opened the first and fourth gates, unleashing a surge of power. Lee launched Gaara into the air, delivering a relentless barrage of punches. Gaara's defenses began to falter under the onslaught. With a fierce determination, Lee opened the fifth gate, declaring it was time for the finishing move. He charged at Gaara, executing the extreme lotus technique. The impact was tremendous, leaving Gaara injured and fatigued. However, he retaliated with his desert coffin technique, trapping Lee's arm and crushing it. Lee cried out in pain as he was thrown to the ground, and sand began to wrap around him, threatening to end his life. Then, Guy and Naruto intervened, preventing the fatal blow. Gaara, bewildered, questioned why they had saved Lee. Guy resolutely declared that Lee was his precious comrade, while Naruto quickly began to heal Lee and transported him to the hospital. The match concluded with Gaara declared the winner. Now, for the 10th and final match, Kinyuta Dosu and Akimichi Choji, please step forward, announced Hayate. Dosu and Choji exchanged intense glares, sizing each other up. Choji took the initiative first. He activated his multi-size jutsu, transforming into a large, round shape, his ears hidden among his layers of increased size. He rolled quickly toward Dosu, who effortlessly dodged the attack. Dosu raised his sound amplifiers, and Choji scoffed, confident in his earplugs. "It's no use, I have my earplugs," Choji declared. Dosu smirked and unleashed a powerful blast, sending Choji crashing into the wall. He fell flat on his face, and Dosu reveled in his victory. Winner, Kinyuta Dosu. The preliminary trials of the Chunin exams are now complete. Congratulations to you all, Hayate proclaimed. Hiruzen then took over, addressing the participants. The finals will be in 1 month. This break is for preparation. Pick a piece of paper from the box Anko is holding. Number 1 will face number 2, 3 against 4, and so on. However, due to an uneven number of participants, number 7 will face either 8 or 9, depending on who wins. Are there any final questions? Shikamaru raised his hand. Since it's a tournament, does that mean only one person becomes a Chunin? No, that's not quite it, Hiruzen explained. We select genins to become chunins by evaluating their abilities and necessary qualities. Even those who lose may become chunin. Does that mean we can all possibly become chunin? Temari inquired. Hiruzen nodded. Yes, that's correct. It's possible, but there's also a chance that no one will become chunin. Thank you for your efforts. You are now dismissed. See you in a month. Kabuto sighed as he stealthily entered Sasuke's hospital room. He had easily defeated the Konoha Anbu, finding them lacking. Just as he approached Sasuke's bedside with malicious intent, he was confronted by Kakashi and Naruto. Kabuto-san, you are no ordinary genin, are you? Naruto remarked, his tone serious. Orochimaru, spy, disguise, those words ring a bell? Kabuto scoffed. Is this how you treat me after I was so nice to you during the second exam? Kakashi, dropping the affectionate nickname, asked, What's going on, Naruto? Naruto sighed, asserting, Kabuto, you can't fool anyone. Even Sasuke was suspicious of you. Leave now, unless you want to face the consequences. It's 2 against 1. I won't start a conflict during the Chunin exams. Kabuto smirked. All right, Naryun. Next time we meet, Sasuke will be mine. He vanished in a flicker. The past few days had been relaxing for Naruto. He had not trained as rigorously as the other genins. Instead, he focused on reading and caring for Lee. However, that changed on the 6th day when Jiraiya arrived in town. Naruto had met him twice before during his travels outside of Konoha and was surprised to encounter him again. Their first meeting had been at the hot springs, where Naruto had confronted Jiraiya for his inappropriate behavior, despite the irony of having invented the CC Jutsu. The second time was at Mount Mayaboku, where Jiraiya visited the toads while Naruto learned sage techniques. Despite some awkward moments regarding Jiraiya's so-called research, they got along well. Sasuke was recovering well, thanks to Naruto's exceptional medical ninjutsu, and he trained diligently with Kakashi to perfect the Chidori. Tenten assisted Neji with his gentle fist technique while visiting Lee, who was recovering quickly due to Naruto's care. Shikamaru lounged around but was pushed by Asuma to improve his stamina. Shino practiced with his bugs, while Kiba helped Hinata regain her physical strength. Ino and Sakura had reconciled and became blood sisters after several outings together. One day, Heiei trained with Naruto in Kenjutsu. After 2 hours of intense sparring, they took a break. Heiei needed to stop by the Hokage Tower for a report, and Naruto accompanied him. Dosu was frustrated, realizing that Orochimaru viewed his team as mere tools. To thwart Orochimaru's plans, he decided to eliminate Gaara to increase his chances of fighting Sasuke, but his plan did not go as expected. In the distance, Kabuto and Baki exchanged smirks. Serving Orochimaru was paramount, and nothing would deter them. They discussed the invasion, their conversation picked up by Naruto's enhanced hearing, a gift from Kurama. Shui, I hear something, Naruto whispered. They paused, listening intently. Kabuto and Baki spoke in hushed tones, but Naruto could hear every word. He mentally relayed the information to Heiei, whose eyes widened in alarm. We must inform Lord Hokage, he exclaimed, and the two vanished. Hiruzen was not surprised when Heiei brought him the news of Orochimaru's impending invasion. Ever since Anko's encounter with Orochimaru in the Forest of Death, he had been half expecting it. Gathering all the Jonins and Anbu, he shared Naruto and Heiei's discovery with them. The remainder of the night was devoted to discussing battle strategies and safety measures. The day of the exam finally arrived. Crowds gathered to cheer for the contenders, including the Kazekage. Hiruzen stepped onto the balcony to address the audience. Thank you for attending the final test of the Chunin selection exam. We will now begin the tournament among the 8 individuals who made it through the preliminaries. There have been some minor changes. Nara Shikamaru will be fighting Temari. The 8 contenders lined up before Shiranui Genma, the new proctor. Naruto smirked, knowing Heiei was with Yugao in the spectator stands. Watching the matches was their peculiar idea of a date. Even Zabuza and Haku, who had missed a shift at the hospital, had come to watch. Okay, Genma announced. The first match is between Hyuga Neji and Uzumaki Naruto. Begin. Watch closely, Hanabi. There isn't another who possesses such strong Hyuga blood, Hayashi instructed. Hanabi nodded in agreement. Yes, father. Poor brat. He's going to face a tough challenge, Zabuza mused, chuckling softly. Haku nodded in response. Indeed. I only hope Naruto takes it easy. Niji activated his Byakugan, noticing that Naruto was not making a move. He charged forward, ready to engage in battle. But Shikamaru was determined not to let Temari have her way. Temari smirked as she unleashed her technique, Wind Release, Sickle Weasel Jutsu. Shikamaru braced himself against the force of the attack. Temari noticed Shikamaru's shadow pursuing her, but she skillfully dodged it until she reached the edge of its reach. She remarked on the limitations of his jutsu, noting the maximum distance his shadow could cover. Shikamaru sighed, closed his eyes, crouched down, and formed an unusual hand seal. Kurenai, observing from the sidelines, questioned what he was doing. Asuma chuckled and explained that Shikamaru was simply contemplating his strategy. He recalled how Shikamaru had nearly failed his academy test and how he had opted for a game to assess his intelligence instead of a written exam. Curious, Kurenai asked about Shikamaru's score, and Asuma proudly revealed that it was over 200, dubbing him a super genius. Shikamaru opened his eyes, and Temari smirked, sensing he was about to get serious. She launched her jutsu again, taunting him about hiding. Shikamaru dashed toward the trees, and Temari continued to mock him, insisting he should stop running and give up. Suddenly, a kunai flew toward her. Temari dodged it effortlessly but realized she had crossed the line. Frantically, she jumped to safety, while Shikamaru acknowledged her awareness of his tactics. Temari retorted, recognizing his strategy of stalling for time to extend his shadow. However, Shikamaru had a plan that was several steps ahead. He used his jutsu to keep her distracted while cleverly creating a parachute with his shirt to lengthen his shadow, narrowly escaping thanks to Kankuro's warning. Temari continued to evade Shikamaru's shadow, finding the fight to be beneath her. It was time to end it. She devised a plan to divert Shikamaru's attention with a clone while she prepared to launch a surprise attack from behind her fan. But just as she was about to execute her strategy, she found herself immobilized. Shikamaru grinned, having successfully used his shadow imitation jutsu. Temari, in disbelief, stuttered in protest. Shikamaru chuckled and turned his head, revealing the shadow that had ensnared her through a hole created during Niji's earlier defeat by Naruto. The spectators were now fully engaged in the unfolding battle. Shikamaru's parachute had merely been a distraction. He had outmaneuvered her completely. Realizing the situation, Shikamaru declared his forfeit, much to Temari's shock and the audience's confusion. He explained that he had exhausted his chakra while pursuing her and doubted he could hold her for more than a few seconds, despite having planned hundreds of moves. Genma announced Temari as the winner. Now, the crowd eagerly anticipated the next match, Gaara against Uchiha Sasuke. As the audience grew restless, it seemed like Sasuke might forfeit, but then a swirl of leaves appeared, revealing Sasuke and Kakashi. Naruto smirked at Kakashi, reminding him of their previous conversation about punctuality. Kakashi sheepishly admitted that he and Sasuke had lost track of time. Sasuke inquired if Naruto had won his match, to which Naruto confidently replied that it had been entertaining and wished Sasuke good luck, hinting at his interest in Sasuke's progress with the Chidori technique. Sasuke was taken aback, wondering how Naruto knew about his training, but his thoughts were interrupted by Genma announcing the start of the fight between him and Gaara. Kakashi took his place in the spectator stands beside Naruto and Sakura as the match commenced. Gaara unleashed sand from his gourd, while Sasuke assumed a defensive stance. Suddenly, Gaara clutched his head in pain, demanding his mother to calm down. Sasuke responded by throwing shurikens, but Gaara's sand easily deflected them. A replica of Gaara emerged from the sand, launching spikes towards Sasuke, who leapt to avoid them. Sasuke continued his assault with more shurikens, but they were once again thwarted. While airborne, he aimed a kick at Gaara's sand shield, reminiscent of Gaara's earlier fight with Lee. Sasuke quickly maneuvered behind Gaara and landed a punch, causing cracks to form in Gaara's sand armor. He followed up with a kick to Gaara's chin, forcing him to his knees, panting from the exertion. Realizing his sand armor was draining his chakra, Gaara formed a hand seal, encasing himself in a protective ball of sand. Sasuke charged at it, only to be met with protruding spikes that grazed his arm. Gaara laughed maniacally, plotting his next move. Kakashi noted that it was time for Sasuke to use the Chidori, and Naruto agreed, watching as Sasuke prepared his hand seals. Sakura, curious, asked about the Chidori. Kakashi began to explain, but Guy interjected, describing it as a technique created by Kakashi for assassination, named for the sound it made, resembling a flock of birds. Shikamaru, meanwhile, took 8 kunais from his pocket and threw them at the sound nin, but they were all deflected. Realizing he had reached his limit, he contemplated his next move, knowing the stakes were high. The character had once dreamed of being an ordinary shinobi, leading a simple life, marrying someone who was neither exceptionally beautiful nor unattractive, raising a son and a daughter, retiring when his daughter married and his son became a successful shinobi, and spending his later years playing shogi or go. It was a vision of a carefree retirement, passing away peacefully before his wife. Yet, he found himself in a troublesome situation far from that dream. One of the sound ninjas ordered someone to emerge and take out a kid. Shikamaru felt a familiar presence behind him and turned to see Asuma, who had just captured one of the sound ninjas. Asuma had finally caught up. Before Shikamaru could express his surprise, Asuma swiftly incapacitated all the sound ninjas. Meanwhile, Sasuke was thrown against a tree, and Gaara laughed at his apparent defeat. Gaara taunted Sasuke, claiming that his hatred was not strong enough to make him a true warrior. Sasuke, determined, charged at Gaara despite the pain and fatigue overwhelming him. Just as it seemed Gaara's sand arm would crush him, Naruto intervened, kicking Gaara away. Sasuke collapsed to the ground, and Sakura along with Kimi rushed to tend to his wounds. Gaara, undeterred, lunged at Sasuke, but Naruto was quick, kicking Gaara back once more. Naruto calmly prepared for battle, declaring his commitment to protect his comrades. Gaara, frustrated, unleashed a barrage of sand shurikens, which Naruto skillfully dodged. When Gaara attempted a powerful wind jutsu, Naruto used his special kunai to teleport to safety. The silence that followed was tense, with Gaara demanding to know Naruto's location, questioning his courage. Naruto emerged from the trees, surrounded by shadow clones. As Gaara tried to dispel them, the real Naruto took the opportunity to strike, causing Gaara to roar in anger. In a moment of desperation, Gaara unleashed his ultimate technique, Desert Coffin. But Naruto had a plan. He summoned a giant russet fox with 9 tails, Kurama, who greeted Kimi with a smirk. Naruto explained the dire situation involving Shikaku and the threat posed by Orochimaru's new village. Kurama, slightly annoyed, agreed to help, but Naruto noted that they would need to rely on fire techniques since Shikaku was a wind user. Kurama unleashed a powerful fire attack, but Shikaku countered with his own wind jutsu, sending Naruto and Kurama into a defensive position. As they strategized, Shikaku seized the moment to attack with a wind technique. Naruto quickly teleported behind Shikaku, devising a plan to summon Bunta, the Toad Chief, to assist. Kurama engaged Shikaku in close combat, raking his claws across Shikaku's face, who retaliated fiercely. Naruto leaped off Kurama's back, summoning Gamabunta just in time to join the fray. Gamabunta grumbled about always being summoned for emergencies, but Naruto promised him sake in exchange for his help. The Toad Chief unleashed a powerful water attack, surprising Sasuke, who was still recovering from the earlier confrontation. As the battle intensified, Naruto faced off against formidable opponents, asserting his determination to protect his friends and confront the challenges ahead. They would return another day, but for now, he flickered away, with Kisame following closely behind. Naruto sighed as he found himself alone with Sasuke at his feet, just outside his house. He wondered what the elders of the Konoha Council would think if they saw this. Although the villagers no longer recognized him and had stopped their abuse, the shinobi were still aware of his past and would go to great lengths to fabricate a reason for his exile from Konoha. Picking up Sasuke and sealing him in a scroll, Naruto flickered to the hospital once more. It had been 3 days since Sasuke had been admitted to the hospital. While his physical injuries were not severe, he needed to stay until the doctors determined whether his mental health was stable. During this time, Naruto had been busy with other matters. Konoha needed a new Hokage, and the candidate was Tsunade. Jiraiya had tracked her location using his spy network, and together with Naruto, they set off to find her. After a day of traveling, they stopped at a restaurant for dinner. Jiraiya was busy jotting down research notes while Naruto attempted to read, but it was difficult with so many girls whispering and blushing over him. Jiraiya noticed and smirked, claiming that the attention was due to his own charm as the great and gallant Toad Sage. Naruto merely looked up from his book, unimpressed. Once they finished their meal and were about to leave, a commotion erupted from the casino area of the restaurant. A woman was loudly demanding money from a man, who shook his head and put his wallet away. In a fit of rage, she flipped over the table, scattering cards, chips, and coins everywhere. The man, terrified, quickly handed her some cash before fleeing the restaurant. The woman laughed drunkenly, while her companion stood nervously, worried about the damage. Jiraiya's eyes widened in recognition as he realized the woman was Tsunade. He rushed over to greet her, but Naruto spoke first, smoothly addressing her. Tsunade looked down at him, her eyes droopy from the sake. She slurred her words, asking what he wanted. The lady beside her, Shizun, urged Tsunade to leave before they caused more trouble, but Tsunade insisted on staying to hear what Naruto had to say. Before Naruto could respond, Jiraiya interrupted, calling out to Tsunade. She looked at him incredulously, and soon they all found themselves awkwardly seated at a table together. Jiraiya attempted to break the ice by asking Tsunade how life outside of Konoha had been. Naruto, impatient, cut to the chase, informing Tsunade that Konoha needed her to return as the 5th Hokage. He mentioned the fate of the 3rd Hokage, and Tsunade acknowledged that she had heard about Orochimaru's involvement. Naruto, rolling his eyes, pointed out that Orochimaru had likely come to ask her to heal his arms. Tsunade was surprised by his insight, and Naruto pressed her for an answer about becoming Hokage. She firmly refused, declaring it impossible. Naruto scoffed, having expected her response. Tsunade retorted, challenging him not to speak to her that way. Naruto countered, asserting that at least he didn't run away from challenges like a coward. Tsunade argued that risking one's life for the village only to fail was foolish, citing her grandfather's and brother's sacrifices. She questioned the point of being Hokage if it meant nothing in the end. Naruto defended the Yondaime, stating that a fool might seek the title, but true scum were those who cowered in fear. Tsunade, enraged by his words, demanded they take the argument outside. Naruto smirked, suggesting that if he won, she would return to Konoha as Hokage. Tsunade agreed, adding that she would even give him a necklace if he won. Shizun protested, but Tsunade silenced her, confident in her abilities. Naruto accepted the challenge, and in an instant, he teleported behind Tsunade, placing a sunbon to her neck. Shocked, she stuttered, unable to comprehend how he had done it. Naruto smirked, declaring that she would indeed become Konoha's new Hokage and owe him a necklace. Tsunade growled, proposing a card game instead. If Naruto won, she would become Hokage. If she won, he would give her all his valuables. Shizun interjected again, but Tsunade glared at her, silencing her. Naruto grinned, ready for the challenge. Tsunade stared at Naruto in astonishment. He was not to be underestimated. Not only had he bested her in battle, but now he was challenging her in gambling as well. Finally, she sighed and agreed to return to Konoha as Hokage. She questioned why he was so desperate for her to take the position. Naruto pointed out that Tsunade was running away from her past, and as a skilled medic nin, it was superficial for her to fear blood. He reminded her that her loved ones had sacrificed themselves for a greater cause, and denying their sacrifices was selfish. Realization and guilt washed over Tsunade as she reflected on Naruto's words. All these years, she had believed Dan and Nawaki had fled from their problems, but it was she who had been running away. Finally, Jiraiya proposed the question again, and Tsunade nodded firmly, ready to accept her role as Hokage. Naruto smiled at her, expressing gratitude for helping her see the light. He suggested they return to Konoha the next day. Tsunade beamed, and Shizune shared a gentle smile. It was time to head home, and even Taunton squealed in agreement. Jiraiya chuckled at the scene. The following day, Tsunade and Shizune busily packed their belongings. Fortunately for Jiraiya and Naruto, their knowledge of sealing techniques allowed them to efficiently store everything in a scroll. As they made their way toward Konoha, they encountered Orochimaru. He taunted Tsunade about her acceptance of the Hokage position, implying she had rejected his offer. Tsunade retorted that she would heal his arms only to prevent him from harming the village and to see her loved ones one last time. Orochimaru claimed he was capable of causing destruction, but Naruto interjected, reminding him of his track record with promises. Orochimaru's demeanor shifted from a smirk to a scowl as he acknowledged Naruto's interference in his plans. He lamented that Naruto could have been a perfect vessel for power and luxury. Naruto coldly stated that Orochimaru's vessels were merely tools for his quest for immortality. Orochimaru, unfazed, declared that they would meet again in battle. Tsunade couldn't help but wonder about Naruto's strength that had forced Orochimaru to retreat. After their encounter, Tsunade's resolve to protect Konoha as the fifth Hokage strengthened. Jiraiya admired Naruto's ability to influence others positively. Upon returning from a mission, Naruto learned that Hiruzen had promoted Nara Shikamaru to Chunin, despite his forfeiture in the match. Naruto sighed, understanding why he hadn't been promoted, even though he was beyond the Chunin level. Since Sasuke had not been promoted, Naruto remained a genin to stay on the same team. His mission to protect Sasuke was not yet complete, but at least he no longer had to wear an immature facade. Naruto headed to the hospital, knowing Sakura was visiting Sasuke. He stood outside Sasuke's room, observing Sakura trying to engage him, but Sasuke ignored her. Finally, he entered the room, greeting them both with a smile. Sasuke glared in response, prompting Naruto to ask what was wrong. Sasuke demanded a fight, insisting on sparring immediately. Sakura, horrified, tried to intervene, reminding Sasuke that he hadn't fully healed yet. Sasuke shouted at her to be quiet. Naruto sighed, pointing out that he had healed Sasuke and suggesting they wait until he was fully recovered. Sasuke's frustration boiled over, and he insisted on fighting. In a swift motion, Naruto pinned him down on the hospital bed, telling him to calm down until he could think rationally. Naruto then vanished, leaving Sasuke to stew in his anger over Naruto's strength. Later that night, Sasuke decided to take a walk outside. He heard rustling leaves and became alert as 4 shinobi emerged from the shadows, attacking him. Despite his strength, Sasuke was at a disadvantage, and he ultimately fell to their combined efforts. The only female shinobi among them urged him to join Orochimaru, promising strength. Sasuke's eyes widened at the prospect. She told him that if he sought power, Orochimaru could provide it, inviting him to meet the next night. After they left, Sasuke contemplated their words. It didn't take long for him to make a decision. He rushed home to pack, consumed by thoughts of those stronger than him: Naruto, Lee, Gaara, Kakashi, and Itachi. To avenge his clan and fulfill his purpose, he needed power, and Orochimaru could help him achieve that. The next night arrived, and as Sasuke prepared to leave for the village gate, he found Sakura blocking his path. Sakura looked down, guilt evident on her face. She had waited for him, knowing he might pass by. Sasuke coldly ordered her to go back to sleep. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she pleaded for him to stay, reminiscing about their happy times together with Naruto and Kakashi. She insisted that revenge wouldn't bring him happiness. Sasuke bluntly acknowledged her words but stated he had chosen a different path. Sakura, desperate, begged him not to leave, promising happiness if he stayed or asking to accompany him if he had to go. Sasuke found her persistence annoying, which shocked Sakura. She cried out, threatening to scream if he left. As she stood frozen in shock, Sasuke softly called her name. In one swift movement, he incapacitated her and laid her on the bench. The sound appeared. Sakon held out a brown pill and commanded that it be consumed, promising power in return. Without hesitation, Sasuke took the pill and began to groan as the sound quickly trapped him in a barrel surrounded by a protective barrier. Kotetsu and Izumo rushed back to the Hokage Tower after receiving news from Sakura that Sasuke had left the village. Tsunade immediately summoned Naruto to her office, assigning him an A-rank mission to retrieve Sasuke. With many of the top Jonin and Chunin away on missions, Naruto needed to find suitable genin to assist him. His first choice was Shikamaru, whose strategic thinking would be essential. Choji was selected next for his strength, which would complement Shikamaru's tactics. Kiba was chosen for his taijutsu skills and tracking abilities, while Niji's Byakugan would be invaluable for scouting. Naruto addressed the gathered genin, emphasizing the importance of the mission. He acknowledged that while they might not be extremely close to Sasuke, it was their duty as Konoha shinobi to bring him back. He laid out their formation. Kiba would lead with his keen sense of smell, followed by Shikamaru as team leader to give orders, then Naruto for his quick reaction time, Choji as the striker, and finally Niji to check for blind spots. Shikamaru expressed his gratitude for the formation, urging the team to move quickly. Kiba teased him about taking his role seriously, and Shikamaru smirked in response. However, just as they were about to leave the village, Sakura stopped them, pleading with Naruto to bring Sasuke back, as she felt powerless to do so herself. Naruto promised her he would do everything he could. As they ran, Akamaru began barking, prompting Shikamaru to ask what was wrong. Naruto explained that Akamaru sensed blood, indicating recent combat. Shikamaru ordered the team to halt, pointing out a trap ahead. He noted the camouflaged wire and asked Niji to use his Byakugan to locate the enemy. Niji activated his Byakugan and quickly identified the enemy's position, revealing that Sasuke was trapped within a coffin-like structure surrounded by an impenetrable seal. They had been noticed, and one enemy was setting up a clay wall that absorbed chakra. Naruto observed the wires closely, realizing they were triple-wired, much to Shikamaru's surprise. Kiba suggested triggering the trap and confronting the enemies directly, which Naruto agreed was a good idea. Shikamaru nodded, and Kiba deliberately stepped on the wire, causing the trap to activate and launching them in front of the Sound Four. Kidamaru mocked them, while Jirabu declared he would handle them. As the enemies prepared to leave with Sasuke, Jirabu used an earth release technique to trap the retrieval team in a dome of hardened earth. Kiba, frustrated, began attacking the wall, but it quickly regenerated with each hit. Naruto realized the wall's regeneration was a problem and asked Shikamaru for a plan. Shikamaru instructed Niji to search for weak points in the walls. Meanwhile, Naruto felt a deep frustration as he confronted Sasuke, pleading for him to listen. Sasuke charged at him, and Naruto was forced to defend himself, delivering a powerful punch that sent Sasuke to the ground. As Sasuke struggled, Naruto noticed the signs of transformation. The curse pill he had taken was taking effect, and he knew he had to act quickly to save his friend. Sasuke's form began to change dramatically, his skin becoming rough and bat-like wings sprouting from his back. He activated his Sharingan and tied his forehead protector around his head, declaring that he acknowledged Naruto. However, he also stated that because of this acknowledgement, he felt the need to confront Naruto as an enemy. As Sasuke charged, Naruto prepared to defend himself. He managed to grab Sasuke's hands and push him down, but Sasuke quickly recovered, attempting a roundhouse kick that Naruto narrowly dodged. The battle between them intensified, with both determined to prove their strength. Naruto seized Sasuke's leg, twisting it before throwing him to the ground. Sasuke growled, quickly rising to his feet and attempting to punch Naruto, but Naruto dodged and pressed a Sunban against a pressure point near Sasuke's palm. Sasuke screamed in frustration, his anger palpable. Naruto leaped back, activating his Sharingan. He declared that Sasuke did not understand his true powers. He had held back during their fight out of respect for their bond, but now that he recognized Sasuke's intent to kill, he would confront him seriously. Sasuke's eyes widened in shock as he realized Naruto had activated the Mangekyo Sharingan. Naruto looked at Sasuke with a sense of nostalgia, reminding him that Itachi had cared for him deeply. He urged Sasuke to see that his quest for power was blinding him, manipulated by Orochimaru's influence. The Mangekyo Sharingan, he explained, was a form attained through trauma, and Sasuke's desire for revenge would not bring him the satisfaction he sought. Sasuke, filled with rage, shouted that Naruto could not understand his pain, having grown up without siblings or parents. Naruto calmly responded that he did understand. Sasuke, refusing to listen, pulled out a kunai and charged at Naruto. With a heavy heart, Naruto prepared to end the conflict, invoking Tsukuyami. Sasuke fell to his knees, clutching his head in torment as visions of his clan's massacre replayed in his mind. He cried out in anguish, desperately calling for his family and vowing revenge. After a moment, his body went limp, his Sharingan deactivated, and his features returned to normal. Naruto approached Sasuke, lifting him and sealing him in a scroll before flickering back to the hospital in Konoha. Upon arrival, Naruto inquired about the retrieval team's condition. A nurse informed him that Nara Shikamaru and Rock Lee had minor injuries, Inuzuka Kiba had a deep wound but was stable, while Akimichi Choji and Hyuga Niji were in critical condition. Just then, Tsunade entered the room, asking if the mission had been successful. She mentioned sending Sand Shinobi to assist, assuming Naruto had been pursuing Sasuke. Naruto confirmed that he had Sasuke in his scroll and explained the urgency of filtering his bloodstream due to Orochimaru's poison. Tsunade's expression turned serious as she realized they needed to act quickly. As Sasuke's body spasmed and he vomited, Naruto swiftly carried him to the ER, with Tsunade following closely behind. After an hour of intensive treatment, Naruto decided to check on his other teammates. Niji and Choji were stable, Shikamaru was recovering, Lee was resting, and Kiba was being cared for by his sister. In the hospital hallway, Naruto bumped into Shikamaru and Temari. He congratulated Shikamaru on his successful mission as a Chunin leader, to which Shikamaru replied with a smirk, acknowledging Naruto's help. Turning to Temari, Naruto asked about Gaara, and she expressed her gratitude for Naruto's support. The following days were hectic for Tsunade, who was overwhelmed with paperwork and extra shifts at the hospital. However, the most pressing issue was the Konoha Council's demand for Naruto's exile. Despite her efforts to defend him, the council members remained resolute in their decision, citing the injury to the last Uchiha as a threat. Tsunade's frustration grew as she argued against their claims, emphasizing Naruto's innocence. Yet, the council insisted that his presence endangered the village, and by law, a vote was necessary. The civilian council favored exile, while the Shinobi Council supported Naruto's stay. As the votes were cast, Tsunade's heart sank when she saw the outcome leaning against Naruto. Later that evening, after dinner, Naruto was summoned to the Hokage Tower. Upon seeing Tsunade's grim expression, his smile faded. Tsunade hesitated before delivering the council's decision. Naruto was to be exiled. In that moment, Naruto froze, the weight of the news settling heavily upon him. Exiled? What had he done wrong? Tsunade expressed her sorrow, explaining that despite her efforts and those of others, the vote had gone against Naruto. The clan heads had supported him, but the civilian council, including Danzo, Koharu, and Hamura, had not. She tearfully informed him that if he set foot in the Fire Country by the next night, he would face execution. Tsunade's heart ached as she realized yet another person she cared for was being taken from her. Naruto stood silently, processing the news. Eventually, he acknowledged the situation and decided to pack his belongings for departure the following morning. Tsunade's sobs echoed in his ears as he prepared to leave. That night, Naruto worked diligently at the Yuzuke's estate, sealing his most cherished items into a scroll, his parents' journals, weapons, books, and scrolls. He also took time to write letters to everyone he held dear in Konoha: Tsunade, Shizune, his friends, and even the Jonins, including Zabuza and Haku. Each letter was a farewell, a piece of his heart left behind. Kurama, his inner companion, offered comfort, assuring him that he would eventually find a place to belong. Naruto struggled to hold back his tears, feeling the weight of his impending departure. Morning arrived swiftly, and the news of Naruto's exile had spread throughout the village. Crowds gathered along the path to the village gate, some mocking him and hurling insults. Naruto chose not to react, their words no longer held meaning for him. He handed out his letters, witnessing the sorrow in the eyes of those he had cared for. Despite the pain, he managed a smile, one filled with heartache. Sakura watched him, tears streaming down her face as she expressed her gratitude for everything he had done. Naruto responded with a pained smile, knowing that he was leaving behind friends who truly cared. The last letter was for Sasuke, who appeared injured and bandaged. As Naruto approached, the villagers shouted insults, and more objects were thrown at him, leaving his clothing stained and his skin scratched. He could see the hurt in the faces of his friends, and it pierced his heart. With one final step, he crossed the threshold outside of Konoha, the gates closing behind him. The villagers erupted in cheers, celebrating his departure, while Naruto broke down in tears for the first time in years. He had devoted himself to Konoha, yet he was cast out, having only fulfilled his promise to bring Sasuke back. How ironic it was that they had exiled the last descendant of the great Uchiha Madara, the son of the Yellow Flash. If they knew the truth, they would have offered their insincere apologies just to have him back. After all, while Sasuke was the last Uchiha, Naruto was the last pure one. But he was tired of living a life filled with scorn and ridicule. Why were they angry at him for containing the Kyuubi? If it weren't for him, the beast would have rampaged and caused destruction. So, for the second time, Naruto left Konoha, this time with no intention of returning. Sasuke sat in silence, hours after Naruto's exile, grappling with his emotions. He should have felt triumphant, but instead, he felt hollow and empty. The reality of Naruto's banishment weighed heavily on him, and he couldn't shake the feeling that he was partly to blame. His friends had distanced themselves from him, even Sakura. Restless, Sasuke attempted to sleep but found himself unable to escape his thoughts of Naruto. He decided to take a walk around the Uchiha estate, but his gaze fell upon Naruto's letter left on his bedside table. Curiosity compelled him to read it. The letter began with Naruto acknowledging that by the time Sasuke read it, he would already be outside the Fire Country. He expressed that despite being banished because of Sasuke, he should not feel guilty. The most important thing was that Sasuke was back in Konoha, safe. Naruto urged him not to seek power from Orochimaru, warning that it would only lead to being used as a vessel. He emphasized that there were no shortcuts to strength, only hard work and dedication. Naruto reminded Sasuke that revenge was not the answer. He recounted the tragic history of the Uchiha clan, explaining how Itachi had been forced to choose between his family and the village. Itachi had made the painful decision to protect Sasuke and prevent civil war, ultimately leading to the massacre of their clan. Naruto's words carried the weight of understanding and empathy, urging Sasuke to honor his brother's sacrifice by choosing a different path. He had been instructed to look after Sasuke at all costs and to keep the truth about the massacre a secret. Back then, he didn't understand why Itachi wanted to protect Sasuke from that knowledge. If Sasuke had known the truth, he would have grown up loving Itachi instead of wishing for his demise. But then the truth was revealed. Itachi had a terminal illness. He wanted Sasuke to be the one to end his life, believing that it would bring Sasuke satisfaction in avenging their clan and grant him the Mangekyo Sharingan. Itachi loved Sasuke more than anyone else. Even during the tragedy of their parents' death, his thoughts were solely on Sasuke. He urged Sasuke to achieve his Mangekyo Sharingan through intense training rather than through pain. He wanted Sasuke to understand that revenge and power were not the answers. He asked Sasuke not to feel guilty about his exile, as it was for Sasuke's own good. In his final words, he expressed gratitude for their friendship, treasuring their time together, and despite the awkwardness, he admitted that he missed Sasuke and loved him. As Sasuke finished reading Naruto's letter, tears streamed down his face. Had Itachi truly sacrificed everything for him? Was Itachi blameless as Naruto claimed? Was everything in the letter true? Weeks had passed since Naruto's exile. He had been wandering, visiting old rogue friends and staying in various towns and villages, including Suna and the Wave. Gaara, the fifth Kazekage, welcomed him warmly, and Inari was thrilled to see him again. Yet, deep down, Naruto knew he could not lead a civilian life. He was destined to be a shinobi. After leaving the Wave, Naruto decided to camp in a forest for a while. Days went by, and he survived on fish, rabbits, and boar, supplemented by edible berries he found. While it was a simple existence, his heart longed for Konoha and the company of his friends. Naruto's senses heightened as he detected two familiar presences nearby. It was Kisame and Itachi. He called out to them, commanding them to reveal themselves. They stepped into the clearing, and Itachi remarked on Naruto's keen senses. Naruto smirked and bluntly asked if they were there for Kurama again. Kisame corrected him, explaining that Akatsuki was merely an organization for rogue shinobi, and their supposed quest for the bijou was a cover to maintain their facade. Naruto offered a pained smile, reflecting on the notion that some people did not wish to return home. He shared his own exile, which stemmed from injuring Sasuke during a mission when Sasuke was taken by the Sound Four. Itachi's eyes widened in shock at the revelation that Sasuke had attempted to join Orochimaru. Naruto expressed his regret for failing to keep his promise to protect Sasuke, but Itachi reassured him that it was not his fault. Sasuke's choices were beyond his control. Kisame then invited Naruto to return to Akatsuki with them, and Naruto was taken aback by the offer. After a moment, he grinned, realizing that perhaps change could be a good thing. After 2 days of travel, Kisame and Itachi brought Naruto to one of the Akatsuki bases. Kisame announced their arrival as they approached a large rock. Performing a series of hand seals, he revealed an underground haven. Once inside, the rock sealed behind them, concealing their location. Naruto surveyed the base, noting that it resembled a regular house but with many more rooms. The other members lounged on the couch, engrossed in a television show. Kisame called out to Pain, who rose from the couch, his orange hair and facial piercings marking him as the leader. Pain recognized Naruto as the Kyuubi kid and beckoned him to follow for a discussion. They entered what appeared to be Pain's office, where he gestured for Naruto to sit. Pain inquired if Naruto was aware of Akatsuki's true intentions, to which Naruto confirmed that Itachi had informed him. Pain introduced himself as the leader and founder of the organization, and Naruto, with a smirk, revealed his knowledge of Pain's true identity as Uzumaki Nagato, an ex-shinobi from Amigakure. He recounted how Pain, along with Yahiko and Konan, had established Akatsuki, only for Pain to change after Yahiko's death. Naruto proposed a plan to Pain, sparking his interest. He suggested rebuilding Uzushiogakure, creating a revered nation that would attract scattered Uzumakis and Namikazes, forming a haven for those who felt lost or abandoned. Pain's expression shifted from blankness to intrigue as he expressed his approval of Naruto's idea. The rest of the day was filled with activity. Pain shared the plan for rebuilding Uzushio with the other members, and Naruto officially became a new member of Akatsuki. They busily prepared for their journey to Uzushio, planning to leave the next morning. Naruto also took charge of securing trades and hiring builders for the new village. Morning arrived quickly, and the Akatsuki members gathered in the living room. Deidara teasingly addressed Naruto as Yuzukage, which left Naruto confused. Deidara insisted that Naruto was the only one qualified for the role, given his swift handling of their economy. With a smile, Naruto declared himself the first Yuzukage of the new Uzushiogakure, prompting applause from the Akatsuki members, except for Tobi, who celebrated with exuberance. Months passed, and slowly but surely, Uzushio began to take shape. With each passing day, the population grew, and the village was on its way to becoming a thriving community. The 5 shinobi nations had received news of Uzushio being resurrected. Although IWA was not pleased, they did not want to be reminded of their humiliating defeat in the Second Shinobi War. Soon, Uzushio completed its construction, becoming a refuge for various inhabitants. Naruto assigned roles for the Akatsuki, Kazu managed the economy and finance, Konan served as Naruto's secretary and ambassador, Tobi oversaw the academy and taught the children, and Zetsu focused on intelligence gathering and trade. The remaining ex-Akatsuki members either acted as Naruto's bodyguards or joined the Shinobi Council. Naruto had changed for the better after his exile, and the ex-Akatsuki had transformed as well. Pain, Konan, Itachi, Kazu, Black Zetsu, and Sasori were less stoic. Tobi revealed his true self after a conversation with Naruto and began going by the name Obito. Occasionally, he would adopt his Tobi persona for fun, but overall, Obito was friendly and playful, often making light-hearted jokes. Deidara and Haiden became less brash, with Haiden cursing less frequently. Kisame also showed a more caring side, softening his previously sadistic nature. A year and a half had passed since Naruto's banishment, and life had improved for him. It was the life he had always desired. The Rookie 11 gathered at a restaurant, reminiscing about Naruto. Kiba expressed his longing for Naruto, and Sakura sighed in agreement. The past year had been difficult for them, as they struggled to adapt to life without him. Team 7 felt incomplete without Naruto, though they had welcomed a new member, Sai, who was part of Danzo's root program. Unfortunately, Sai's emotionless demeanor made it hard for the team to bond. Sasuke had faced the harsh truth of the Uchiha massacre and found that Naruto's words were true. The other rookies avoided him unless necessary, and even Sakura had grown distant, focusing on her training as Tsunade's apprentice. Learning medical ninjutsu was painful for her, as it reminded her of Naruto, and she regretted how she had treated him in the past. Hinata suffered deeply from Naruto's absence. He had been her source of hope and courage. The Jonins who had spent time with Naruto missed him greatly, as he had a unique ability to brighten their days with his humor and spirit. Tsunade noticed the impact of Naruto's loss on the shinobi and attempted to send them on bonding missions and vacations, but this only deepened their longing for him. 8 years passed, and the shinobi nations faced numerous challenges. Together, they united to defeat Orochimaru and Kabuto during the Fourth Shinobi War. Rumors circulated about the newly reformed village of Uzushio-gakure, which had shown immense power and had significantly aided the 5 shinobi nations during the war. Many believed that Uzushio, particularly its new Uzukage, played a crucial role in their victory, much to Iwa's displeasure. During these years, the Rookie 12, including Sai, evolved. Sasuke became less stoic and was promoted to ANBU captain. Sakura worked as one of the head medics at the hospital. Sai, with Ino's unexpected help, developed his emotions, and they began dating. Ino continued her work at her family's flower shop. Choji met Karui during a mission to Kumo, and they started dating, while Shikamaru and Temari became a couple as well. Temari moved to Konoha to be with Shikamaru and took on a role as leading strategist for the Hokage. Kiba became less impulsive and had been dating Tamaki for some time. Shino taught at the academy, and Hinata overcame her crush on Naruto, viewing him as an inspirational brother figure instead. She also conquered her stuttering habit and became more outgoing. Lee remained the same optimistic boy, while Tenten began dating Niji, and together they ran a weapon shop. Asuma and Kurenai welcomed a daughter named Mirai, while Heiate and Yugao married, and Ibiki and Enko began dating, along with Kakashi and Shizun. Tsunade summoned the Rookie 12 to her office, nearly 8 years after Uzushio's reformation. It was time for Konoha to re-establish a treaty with them. She explained that Uzushio had become a strong village with a stable economy and military, housing many misunderstood shinobi. After 4 wars, the need for alliances was greater than ever. Tsunade reminded them of Uzushio's past sacrifices for Konoha and emphasized the importance of rekindling their alliance. She instructed the Rookie 12 to meet with the Uzukage and discuss the alliance, warning them to avoid conflict. The Rookie 12 acknowledged her directive, ready to embark on this important mission. Before we leave, is it wise to send 12 shinobi there? Won't they think it might be a declaration of war? Tsunade sighed, explaining that the Uzushio shinobi would understand it would be unwise to send so few people to an unknown area filled with shinobi of uncertain strength if they intended to start a war. She emphasized the importance of avoiding battle at all costs and advised them to simply meet the Uzukage. If they were not welcomed, they should leave quickly. The past year for Naruto had been uneventful but filled with unexpected romance. During his second year as Uzukage, 2 shinobi, a brother and sister, had heard of Uzushio's resurrection and decided to travel there. Unbeknownst to others, they were also of the Uzumaki lineage, having concealed their identities to avoid persecution. They sought refuge in Uzushio, which they had heard was a haven for shunned shinobi. The sister, Uzumaki Akira, was older and around Naruto's age, while her brother, Uzumaki Akito, was a year younger. Akira was gentle and shy, though a bit stoic. When she first arrived, Naruto welcomed her warmly, and from that moment, she found herself falling in love with him. Naruto had consulted Konan, who had married Pain, about his strange feelings for Akira. Upon hearing this, Conan giggled and playfully informed Naruto that he was in love. Eventually, Naruto confessed his feelings first, albeit shyly and with a blush, but he was relieved to find that his feelings were reciprocated. Akira was part of the ANBU, specializing in kenjutsu and water-based ninjutsu. Her striking purple eyes bore red markings, and she often wore her hair down with purple ribbons. Her attire included a high-collared black shirt adorned with the Uzumaki symbol, gray pants, and black sandals. In contrast, Akito was more extroverted and lively. He was witty, carefree, and enjoyed doing things at his own pace, often making suggestive jokes. He was highly skilled in genjutsu and fuinjutsu, matching Naruto's level. Akito was also quite handsome, sharing the same purple eyes and red markings as his sister, along with bright strawberry red hair. Their resemblance was so strong that they were sometimes mistaken for twins. Akito typically wore a black and beige shirt topped with a gray vest, along with black pants and sandals. Akito and Naruto got along exceptionally well, sharing a bright and clever demeanor that made them enjoyable company. Even the former Akatsuki members treated Akito like a younger brother. Meanwhile, Akira became best friends with Conan, bonding over their similar personalities as they enjoyed gossiping and discussing love. One day, Naruto sighed heavily as he rested his head on Akira's neck. Concerned, she asked what was wrong. He expressed his unease, sensing that visitors were approaching, likely seeking an alliance. Akira reassured him with a gentle kiss on his ear, promising that everything would be fine as long as she was by his side. Grateful, Naruto lifted his head and smiled, acknowledging her support. Naruto, Akira, Akito, Itachi, and Haiden stood before the village gates, cloaked in long black robes with hoods that concealed their faces. The Rookie 12 had finally arrived, and Naruto was surprised to see a replacement for himself. He inquired about their business in Uzushio-gakure, to which Shikamaru stepped forward, showing that he was unarmed. He explained that they came in peace from Konoha-gakure, wishing to renew their alliance. The 5 shinobi tensed at the mention of an alliance, recalling that it had been broken years ago. Naruto warned them that they could face severe consequences for being on Uzushio-gakure land without the Uzukage's approval. Shikamaru apologized, reiterating their peaceful intentions and their desire to simply meet. He added that if they were not welcomed, they would leave. Naruto smirked, sensing that Shikamaru had more to say. He suggested a meeting with the Hokage or a potential trade deal. The Rookie 12 exchanged surprised glances, wondering how Naruto knew Shikamaru's surname. Shikamaru explained that Hokage-sama had instructed them to meet in order to renew their alliance, emphasizing the need for preparation in times of peace. Naruto commanded them to follow as 2 cloaked figures opened the gates, allowing them entry. The Rookie 12 followed nervously, uncertain of what awaited them. Upon entering the Uzukage Tower, Naruto ordered them to come in. The Rookie 12 paled as they realized they had been speaking to the Uzukage all along. Before Naruto could say anything further, they were interrupted by 2 figures in the same cloaks as Naruto and the others. Deidara burst in, excitedly announcing their return from a mission, while Sasori reprimanded him for being too loud in front of guests. Naruto instructed them to take a break after he reviewed their mission report. He then informed the Rookie 12 that Akito would guide them and help them book rooms. Akito protested, claiming he had better things to do than escort them, but Akira encouraged him to comply, suggesting it was better than his usual activities. Reluctantly, Akito agreed, warning that it wouldn't be his fault if they complained about his service. Naruto grinned, teasing Akito about his affection for him. He then instructed the Konoha shinobi to come to his office the following day at 10 to further discuss their alliance and wished them an enjoyable stay. With that, the Rookie 12 followed Akito out of the building, still cloaked in their attire, unsure of their trust in the situation. As they settled in, Akito began assigning rooms. Nara Shikamaru and Akimichi Choji in room 301, Yamanaka Ino and Sai in room 302, Uchiha Sasuke and Haruno Sakura in room 303, and Hyuga Niji and Tenten in room Rock Lee and Inazuka Kiba were in room 305, while Hyuga Hinata and Aburame Shino occupied room 306, as Akito announced with a teasing tone. The Rookie 12 stood frozen, unsure of their next move. Eventually, Choji, feeling weary, decided to retreat to his room for a rest, prompting everyone else to follow suit. The next morning arrived early. After a lavish all-you-can-eat breakfast that delighted Choji, the Rookie 12 gathered at the Uzukage Tower. Akira, still clad in her cloak, greeted them with an emotionless expression. She instructed them to enter, as the Uzukage was ready to see them. Inside, Naruto sat at his desk, surrounded by clones. One was busy with paperwork, another was napping, and the real Naruto was enjoying a cup of ramen. Upon noticing Akira and the Rookie 12, he quickly dispelled his clones, sealed his ramen in a scroll, and sat up straight, blinking innocently. He welcomed the Konoha shinobi, apologizing for his earlier demeanor and dismissing Akira with a casual tone. Akira responded with sarcasm, and after a playful exchange, she flickered away. Shikamaru cleared his throat, prompting Naruto to shift his focus back to the meeting. He began discussing the treaty with Konoha, mentioning that he had drafted terms and conditions for the alliance. He also outlined trade deals and business arrangements, stating that if Tsunade agreed, the alliance would be established. With a light-hearted remark about enjoying their time in Yuzu, he sent the Rookie 12 off, leaving them astonished by his efficiency and carefree attitude. As they departed, Naruto sighed heavily, feeling the weight of the situation. Akira observed him with pity, aware of the deeper emotions he concealed beneath his confident exterior. She asked when he would reveal his true identity to the others, to which he simply replied, "Soon." Hinata wandered nervously around the center of Uzushio, having been inadvertently left behind by her friends. Her spirits lifted when she spotted a cinnamon bun shop, but just as she was about to enter, she was accidentally knocked down by Akito. Hinata felt her cheeks flush as she took in Akito's lean, muscular build and handsome features. He offered her a hand to help her up, and she thanked him, flustered by the encounter. Akito, feeling warmth in his own cheeks, apologized for the mishap and introduced himself, offering to be her tour guide around Uzushio as a way to make amends. Hinata shyly introduced herself in return, and they shared a moment of mutual attraction, leaving Akito wondering if it was normal to find someone he had just met so captivating. Days passed, and the Rookie 12 had spent 4 days in Uzushio, preparing to leave the following day. Early in the morning, Naruto summoned them to the Uzukage Tower, where an air of tension filled the room. Standing before them, Naruto cryptically greeted the Konoha shinobi and prepared to reveal something significant. In one swift motion, he removed his cloak, prompting gasps from the Rookie 12, except for Sai. Sakura stuttered in disbelief, while Sasuke was taken aback by the transformation of his friend, who had been banished and was now one of the strongest individuals on the planet. Kiba's voice rose in frustration as he demanded to know why Naruto had kept his identity a secret for so long. Naruto sighed, explaining the gravity of his situation and the dangers that would have befallen them had he revealed himself. He expressed that his safety and theirs were intertwined, emphasizing that he could not risk their lives for his own peace of mind. Hinata, surprising everyone with her boldness, spoke up, declaring that Naruto was an inspiration to her and expressing gratitude for his presence in her life. Her heartfelt words left Naruto speechless, challenging his belief that the Rookie 12 had never cared about him. As the atmosphere in the room shifted, Sasuke quietly addressed Naruto, signaling the beginning of a new chapter in their relationship. Hinata acknowledged the truth in his words, expressing gratitude for all that Naruto had done for them, especially for saving him from despair. Naruto smiled gently, feeling a mix of pride and hurt that Sasuke hadn't recognized his chakra signature. Sasuke rolled his eyes, dismissing the comment. Naruto continued, but Sasuke interrupted, asking if it was true that Itachi had chosen him over the village. He mentioned that Tsunade had shown him documents outlining Itachi's mission, which involved a choice between the village and the clan, as well as his infiltration into the Akatsuki. Naruto confirmed the truth of Sasuke's inquiry. Sasuke, wide-eyed, questioned how Naruto had met Itachi, recalling that Naruto had traveled out of Konoha and returned when he was 10, while the Uchiha massacre had occurred 3 years prior. Naruto chuckled, recounting that on the night of the massacre, he had been traveling just outside Konoha. He and Itachi had encountered each other and engaged in battle. Naruto had tested Itachi's abilities, and when Itachi activated his Sharingan, Naruto did the same, surprising Itachi, who had just ensured the destruction of his clan. Naruto had won the encounter, and over time, he and Itachi formed a bond. Itachi shared his reasons for his actions, and Naruto revealed his own past. Naruto explained that Itachi had been suffering from an incurable illness. Ultimately, even if Sasuke had not killed him, Itachi would have died anyway. However, Itachi had wished to die at Sasuke's hands so that Sasuke could find satisfaction in avenging their clan and potentially gain the Manjikyu Sharingan. Before leaving to infiltrate the Akatsuki, Itachi had asked Naruto to look after Sasuke. Naruto then revealed that he had cured Itachi of his illness after learning that Sasuke had sought power from Orochimaru, prompting Itachi to believe there was no longer a reason to keep secrets. The Rookie 12 stood in silence, processing the revelations, especially Sasuke, who realized Naruto was much more than he appeared. Choji, curious, asked how Naruto possessed the Sharingan and about his past. Naruto smiled, ready to share the story of how the shinobi world was formed. He explained that Otsutsuki Kagaya was the first to wield chakra after consuming the forbidden chakra fruit of the god tree. She gave birth to twins, Hagoromo and Himura. Due to Kagaya's growing god complex and thirst for power, her sons defeated and sealed her. Hagoromo later had two sons, Indra and Azura. While Indra was a prodigy, Azura was considered a failure. As Hagoromo aged, he needed to choose a successor for the will of Ninshu. Despite Indra's skills, Hagoromo recognized his arrogance and chose Azura as his heir, inciting Indra's rage. After a moment of disbelief, Ino questioned Naruto further. He recounted his time after being banished, living in various villages, making a living through bounty hunting and gambling, and staying under Gaara's protection in Suna. He had also visited Tazuna in the Land of Waves, recalling their mission with Sakura, Sasuke, and Kakashi. Knowing he couldn't stay forever, Naruto shared an encounter while camping in the forest, where he sensed Itachi and his partner, Kisame. He offered them Kurama, his bijou, but they extended an invitation to stay with them, revealing that the Akatsuki was an organization for misunderstood rogue shinobi. The leader, Pain, sent them to pretend to hunt for bijous to maintain their cover. Naruto met with Pain, sharing his idea to resurrect Uzushio. Pain, whose real name was Uzumaki Nagato and related to Naruto, agreed, and Naruto became the Uzukichi. He mentioned that the former Akatsuki members were currently in the village and promised to fetch them. As Naruto summoned shadow clones to find the others, the Rookie 12 stood speechless, realizing the depth of Naruto's secrets. Their silence was broken when 10 individuals burst into the room. One man with white hair questioned their presence, and Naruto explained that they were his former comrades, come to re-establish a treaty. He encouraged them to introduce themselves. The introductions began with Haiden, who expressed his disdain for them while professing his devotion to Jashin. Kakuzu followed, demanding money for friendship. Deidara proclaimed himself an artist, while Sasori claimed to know the true meaning of art. Tobi introduced himself as a good boy, revealing his true identity as Obito. Zetsu introduced themselves as 2-in-1, with a peculiar taste for eating people. Konan shared her love for flowers and origami, while Pain, or Nagato, introduced himself. Kisame expressed his dislike for shark fin soup. Finally, Itachi stepped forward, greeting Sasuke with a bittersweet acknowledgement. Sasuke's emotions overwhelmed him, and tears streamed down his face as he confronted Itachi about their clan and Konoha. Itachi offered a pained smile, explaining that sacrifices were part of a shinobi's path. Unable to contain himself, Sasuke rushed to Itachi and embraced him, surprising his brother. After a moment of hesitation, Itachi awkwardly returned the hug, calling Sasuke's name in disbelief. The Rookie 12, Naruto, and the former Akatsuki members stood by, witnessing the heartfelt reunion, unsure of how to react. It was a moment none of them had expected, especially Sakura, who was astonished by Sasuke's vulnerability. Time passed as Sasuke held Itachi tightly, savoring the reunion they had longed for. Realizing that everyone in the room was watching him, Sasuke pulled away from the hug, wiped his tears, and blushed as he muttered a small, embarrassed apology while Itachi awkwardly rubbed his nape. Sai bluntly remarked that it was touching to see two people hugging. Ino glared at him again, discreetly pinching his arm. Naruto chuckled and mentioned that he would have Konan, his secretary, book a restaurant for them to catch up over lunch. Hayden laughed hysterically, teasing Sasuke about a past incident that made Sasuke pout at Itachi, silently questioning why he had shared that story. Lee, with sparkling eyes, praised Sasuke's youthful spirit, suggesting that running around the Uchiha compound without clothes was a wonderful way to express it. Sasuke groaned in embarrassment as the others laughed. Deidara curiously asked Naruto who his first kiss was, causing both Naruto and Sasuke to turn red and stare at their feet. Sai questioned why Naruto was blushing, leading to Naruto admitting that his first kiss was with Sasuke, which had been an accident after someone bumped into him. The table erupted into laughter once more. After lunch, Naruto thanked everyone for joining him and announced their plans to travel to Konoha the next day to meet with Tsunade and officially re-establish the alliance. Later, Naruto lay on Akira's lap as she played with his hair. She sweetly asked how his day had gone, kissing his temple. Naruto grinned and said it had gone smoothly, inviting her to come to Konoha with him. Akira assured him she couldn't be separated from him, winking playfully. Naruto smirked and leaned in to give her a soft kiss before nestling his face in her neck, expressing his gratitude for having her in his life. Shikamaru announced it was time to return to Konoha and inform Tsunade of the news. Naruto offered to save them the trouble of walking, activating his Manjikyu Sharingan. Sasuke inquired about what he planned to do with it, but Akira explained that one of Naruto's abilities was Kamui, a space-time ninjutsu that allowed him to teleport and become intangible. This would enable him to quickly and efficiently transport everyone to Konoha. Shino, adjusting his glasses, asked Akira who she was. Sai bluntly commented on the way she and Naruto interacted, suggesting they were very close. Akira blushed and introduced herself as Uzumaki Akira, Naruto's girlfriend. Lee excitedly congratulated Naruto, calling Akira a beautiful flower. Hinata smiled as she watched Akira hold Naruto's hand lovingly, feeling content with her own growth since Naruto was her first love. Naruto prepared to teleport everyone, but Akito arrived, inquiring about what was happening. Naruto explained he was bringing everyone back to Konoha the fun way. Sakura, curious, asked who Akito was. Akira introduced him as her brother, and Akito greeted everyone with charm. Hinata blushed at his friendly demeanor, and Akito recalled their previous encounter, making a light-hearted joke about cinnamon buns that caused Hinata to blush further. Naruto rolled his eyes at Akito's humor and invited him to join them. As they prepared for the teleportation, Naruto encouraged everyone to brace themselves for a unique experience. With a swift motion, he activated Kamui, and they swirled around before landing in front of the Hokage Tower. Tenten expressed her amazement at the space-time ninjutsu, and Naruto complimented her before leading everyone inside to meet Tsunade. Upon entering Tsunade's office, Shikamaru addressed her, and she instructed them to stand. After confirming the mission's success and discussing the alliance with Uzushio, Naruto playfully teased Tsunade, who was shocked to see him. The next hour was filled with revelations about Naruto's true lineage, his past encounters, and the rebuilding of Uzushio. In the end, all trades were secured, and Konoha was officially allied with Uzushio once more, sealing the deal with a handshake between Tsunade and Naruto. Tsunade asked if Naruto would honor her by staying in Konoha for a while, taking a sip of her sake. Naruto nodded, expressing that he didn't mind, but mentioned that Akira and Akito would need to stay too, and he wasn't sure if they were up for it. Akito, with a relaxed tone, stated that he didn't care where they stayed as long as he could have his cinnamon buns. Akira, more serious, agreed as well. Naruto smiled, suggesting that Tsunade had some hotel booking to do. A day had passed since Naruto had arrived in Konoha. It was lunchtime, and he decided to eat with Akira. The thought of Ichiraka ramen made Naruto's eyes light up. It had been over 5 years since he had tasted what he considered the best ramen in the world. Akira looked at him with admiration. When they reached the store, Ayame spotted Naruto and cried out in joy, expressing her surprise at seeing him again after all those years. She called for her father, Uchiha, who rushed over and was equally emotional upon seeing Naruto. Naruto smiled at them, silently conveying that he had a story to share. Ayame clarified the situation, surprised by Naruto's journey. He confirmed her understanding with a nod. Uchiha proudly cheered for Naruto, noting how the villagers had underestimated him and how he had achieved great things, including becoming the Uzukage and having a girlfriend. This made both Naruto and Akira blush, and Ayame found their reactions adorable. She leaned over the counter, asking Akira to take care of Naruto, ensuring he remained healthy and happy. Uchiha added that he expected to see their children on the next visit. After a pleasant hour of catching up, Naruto and Akira were about to leave when they bumped into Sakura. Naruto greeted her warmly, but she seemed a bit downcast. Sensing her mood, he decided to talk to her alone and encouraged Akira to leave quietly. Sakura sat with her eyes fixed on the Ichiraka menu, appearing fatigued and unwell. Naruto took a seat beside her and asked what was wrong. Sakura suddenly expressed her distress about Sasuke, revealing her conflicting feelings for him. She felt torn between love and pain, struggling with her emotions. Naruto listened intently, surprised by her vulnerability. He reassured her that love exists for a reason and should not be fought against. He encouraged her to embrace her feelings for Sasuke instead of denying them. Sakura felt a weight lift off her shoulders, grateful for Naruto's support and reflecting on the times she had taken him for granted. She thanked him for always being there for her. In a moment of surprise for Naruto, Sakura embraced him tightly, and he returned the hug, signifying their understanding and the healing of past grievances. After pulling back, Sakura curiously asked about his girlfriend, wanting advice on her own feelings. Naruto stammered, feeling shy about the topic, which only made Sakura find him even cuter. Later that night, after a long shift at the hospital, Sakura was walking home when she sensed someone watching her. She commanded the figure to come out of the bushes, revealing Sasuke. Her heart raced as she tried to mask her nervousness. Sasuke stated he was there to see her, causing a flicker of hope to blossom within Sakura. Maybe, just maybe, he felt the same way about her. But that was impossible, right? Sakura found herself questioning Sasuke's intentions. He wore a small smirk as he expressed his feelings. He told her that he desired her, and she could hardly believe it. The most sought-after man in Konoha wanted her, a regular medic working at a hospital. She asked why he was saying this now, in the middle of the night, on a deserted path. Sasuke's smirk deepened as he explained how he had yearned for her over the years. He revealed that the war was over, he had reconciled with Naruto, and Konoha was secure, but his life felt incomplete without her. Sakura's heart raced as she processed his words. Was it true? She felt a whirlwind of emotions. Sasuke, whom she loved dearly, was standing before her, but everything felt so wrong. He sensed her hesitation and admitted that he didn't know what she meant to him, but she was driving him crazy. Sakura's frustration boiled over as she confronted him about the past. She reminded him of how he had treated her and how he had ignored her even after redeeming himself. Sasuke remained silent, and in an instant he was right in front of her, cupping her face and leaning in. Sakura's eyes widened in surprise, and she instinctively tried to pull away, but he held her firmly. Panic surged through her as she thought about what to do. Inner Sakura urged her to embrace her feelings for Sasuke and not to let them go. Despite her resistance, deep down, she longed for him. As he deepened the kiss, Sakura hesitantly wrapped her arms around his neck. Sasuke pulled back, gazing intensely at her, and she shivered under his gaze, wanting more. She stammered, questioning why he had acted that way. The chapter ended, leaving her in a whirlwind of emotions and uncertainty about their future. The book had reached 4,000 views and nearly 100 votes. The excitement was palpable. Hinata suggested they move to her bedroom, noting how chilly it was standing outside. Akito nodded, closed the door, and followed her through the corridor and up the stairs until they reached her room. "Have a seat," Hinata invited, gesturing to the bed. Her room was simple yet captivating, with a bed in one corner and a large bookshelf in another. A table and wardrobe filled the back of the room, and the scent was fresh and invigorating, just as Akito liked it. "Hinata, As I mentioned before, I have something to ask you, he began. Hinata smiled sweetly at him, and he felt a surge of courage. Hinata, may I kiss you? He asked, his heart racing. Hinata's eyes widened in surprise. She had always known Akito to be straightforward, but this was unexpected. The word kiss felt foreign yet thrilling. Akito's intense gaze made her heart flutter, confirming her feelings for him. You know, Akito, your way of expressing love is unusual but quite endearing, she replied, a blush creeping onto her cheeks as she looked away. Akito's heart soared with hope. Was this a sign that she felt the same? Hinata, about your response. I hope you mean it, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Hinata nodded shyly, her cheeks still flushed. Akito felt a wave of joy. The girl he loved reciprocated his feelings. Slowly he moved closer, captivated by her lovely pale lavender eyes. He gently tucked a strand of her long dark violet hair behind her ear and cupped her face tenderly. As he leaned in, their lips met in a soft, passionate kiss that left them both breathless. Hinata felt a rush of warmth and happiness. This moment was perfect. Later, Hinata stood nervously in front of the mirror, preparing for her first date with Akito. They were set to meet at one of Konoha's fanciest restaurants, and she was filled with excitement and anxiety. What if Akito didn't truly like her? What if his confession had been a joke? She worried about her appearance, wondering if her outfit, a white blouse with bell sleeves, a black knee-length skirt, and black flats would be appealing to him. She had even asked her sister Hanabi for help, which had led to some teasing. Only time would tell how the evening would unfold. When Akito arrived at their meeting point, he was taken aback by Hinata's beauty. She had styled her hair and looked stunning. Akito himself was dressed well in a white dress shirt, black chinos, and sneakers, but Hinata was on another level. Hinata couldn't help but admire Akito, feeling her cheeks heat up as she thought about how handsome he looked. After a few moments of mutual admiration, Akito took her hands and led her into the restaurant. Once seated, they found themselves in an awkward silence as they waited for their food. Suddenly, the door swung open, and to their surprise, Naruto and Akira entered with the rest of the Rookie 12 and their partners. Naruto spotted Akito and Hinata and winked at them, trying to stifle a laugh. He approached the waitress and requested their tables be moved closer to the couple by the window. Akito felt a rush of embarrassment as Naruto made his way toward them. Hello, Akito. Looks like you've made your bold move, Naruto teased, a smirk on his face. Akito playfully punched him, recalling how he could have said the same to Naruto years ago. The atmosphere lightened as Naruto laughed, noting how all their friends were now dating, himself with Akira, Sasuke with Sakura, Shikamaru with Temari, Sai with Ino, Choji with Karui, and Kiba with Tamaki. Akito felt overwhelmed, glancing at Hinata, who was blushing and focused on her meal. He resisted the urge to lean over and kiss her, knowing it wasn't the right moment. So, he started awkwardly as Naruto and the others settled in, flipping through the menu. Relax, Akito. We know you want some alone time with Hinata, but come on, we're all here together. Naruto said with a grin. Akito stammered, trying to explain, but Naruto continued, my shy Akito is embarrassed. Don't worry, you're surrounded by friends. Akito felt a mix of embarrassment and amusement as he listened to the playful banter around him. The meal turned into a lively discussion about relationships, with Akito and Hinata being teased for being the newest couple. As the conversation flowed, they learned about how their friends had confessed to one another, each story filled with laughter and camaraderie. Akito and Hinata exchanged glances, their connection deepening amidst the light-hearted teasing and shared experiences. It was amusing but not too surprising that Niji was so orderly. Tenten asked Niji not to expose him like that, especially not in front of everyone. It was fine, his brother Niji was just caring. Hinata was sweet, and Akira wanted to know about her relationship with Akito. Hinata hesitated, unsure of what to say. Akito, on the other hand, was reluctant to share and insisted it was a secret. Akira laughed, noting that he had noticed Akito acting strangely lately, often in a daze and unable to concentrate. After asking Naruto if something was wrong, He learned that Naruto had a gut feeling Akito was head over heels for Hinata. When Akira confronted Akito, he didn't deny it and even asked for advice on how to confess, which Akira found ironic since Naruto had confessed to him first. After giving Akito some tips, Akira soon learned that Hinata had accepted Akito's feelings. It was probably the first time he had seen Akito so shy and sincere, a side he thought he might never witness again. Everyone found it adorable. Karui chimed in, sharing her own cute story about Choji and their mutual love for food. Tamaki found it ironic that she and Kiba had gotten together despite their pets being at odds with each other. Sakura then shared how Sasuke had confessed to her in a typical Sasuke manner, stopping her on her way home from the hospital. They had started dating soon after, which surprised everyone. Ino expressed her excitement, teasing Sakura about how cute it was. Sasuke's possessiveness was noted, but the focus soon shifted to Naruto and Akira's relationship. Akito mischievously revealed that Akira had fallen for Naruto's charm and that Akira had confessed first, much to everyone's surprise. Naruto blushed, feeling content with his life. Akira was by his side, he had his old friends, and everything seemed perfect. Naruto approached the Jonin shack with a mix of nerves and excitement. It had been 8 long years since he had last seen his beloved friends. The sounds of cheering and joy filled the air, but doubts crept in. What would they say? Did he still matter to them? Remembering Akira's words about real friends, he mustered his courage and stepped inside. The room fell silent, and all eyes turned to him. Kakashi was the first to speak, astonished to see Naruto. He jumped up and embraced Naruto, surprising everyone with his display of affection. The rest of the night was filled with shock and joy as Naruto shared his journey and lineage, explaining what had happened during his time away. He expressed his happiness at being back, feeling that everything was finally right in his life. Just before leaving, Anko raised a toast to Naruto, inviting him to share his first drink with them now that he was of age. Everyone cheered, and Naruto felt a mix of shyness and happiness. The night wound down and everyone began to leave. Naruto noticed Kakashi sitting alone, looking troubled. He approached Kakashi and asked if he was thinking about Obito. Kakashi sighed, still grappling with the reality of Obito's survival. Naruto reassured him that Obito held no anger towards him. He explained how Obito wanted to create a new world free of suffering, where they could reunite. Kakashi began to understand that Obito's love for him was unconditional, and he realized he had been living in a lie for years. The night ended with a sense of closure and newfound understanding, marking a significant moment in their lives. Good luck to Hinata as well, the rookie 12 chorused while Naruto, Akira, Akito, and Hinata prepared to set off to Uzushio. It had been a little more than a month since they arrived in Konoha, where they had been catching up and spending time with Naruto. Hinata had been dating Akito for about 3 weeks, and she decided to move to Uzushio to be with him. Hayashi consented, trying his best not to cry alongside Hanabi. Niji approved as well, proud of Hinata's strength and independence. They wished them a safe trip home. Upon their return, Deidara welcomed Naruto back with enthusiasm, only to be smacked on the head by Sasori for being too loud. Sasori grumbled about Deidara's rambunctiousness while Pain rubbed his temples, and Konan chuckled discreetly. Naruto smirked and asked Pain how it was being the substitute Usukage during his absence. Pain groaned, overwhelmed by the paperwork and the challenges of managing the others. Naruto laughed, claiming it was a talent. He then informed Pain that they had brought back Hinata, who had started dating Akito and would be living with him in Uzushio. Pain was incredulous, questioning if Akito was serious about dating. Konan reassured him that Akito could be surprising. Hinata defended Akito, stating that he was a nice person who genuinely loved her. Pain laughed, teasing Akito to take care of her. Akito grinned and mentioned he would show Hinata the place where she would have fun living. Hinata blushed at the hidden implication, typical of Akito. Haiden chimed in, offering to teach Akito the art of Stuckton, claiming to be a babe magnet himself. Kakuzu interrupted, incredulous that Haiden would offer such a thing without payment, insisting that money was essential. Haiden retorted, dismissing Kakuzu's obsession with money, leading to a lively argument among the group about the value of art and life. Pain, frustrated, demanded silence, but the bickering resumed, with Zetsu joining in about the importance of eating and gardening. Pain sank into his seat, questioning how Naruto managed to control them all. Naruto found the chaos amusing and appreciated the support and love from his friends, despite their antics. He felt content and smiled warmly, prompting everyone to return his smile in an unforgettable moment of camaraderie. He was home. Life continued normally, and another year passed peacefully. The 5 hidden villages had strengthened their ties with each other and Uzushio, leading to an era without fighting. The intentions of Hagoromo had been fulfilled. Everyone from the Rookie 12 had married, except for Lee and Shino, and they all had healthy children, living happily. In the following year, Naruto welcomed healthy twins, a boy and a girl named Takumi and Yuzumi, with Akira. Hinata gave Akito a baby boy named Kazuki. Pain and Konan became a happy family of 5, including 2 sons and a daughter. The rest of the former Akatsuki members remained single, though there were rumors of secret girlfriends. Sasuke and Sakura had a daughter named Sarada, while Ino and Sai welcomed a son named Inogen. Shikamaru and Temari had a son named Shikadai, and Choji and Karui had a daughter named Chocho. Together, they formed the new generation of Ino Shikacho. Lee adopted a son named Metal Lee, and both Tenten and Tamaki were expecting daughters. Anko and Ibiki had 6 children, 4 girls and 2 boys, with rumors suggesting Zabuza fathered some of them. Haku married Miyuki, and they had a son, while Kakashi and Shizen welcomed 2 boys. Yugao and Hayate had 1 son. At last, everyone and everything had settled down. One day, Takumi, a black-haired boy, asked his father how the shinobi came to be, while his twin sister, Yuzumi, grinned. Naruto smiled and ruffled Takumi's hair, momentarily distracted from his paperwork. He suggested they ask their mother instead, apologizing for not having time at the moment. Takumi pouted, feeling it was unfair, while Yuzumi pleaded for their father to share the story. Naruto awkwardly nudged them toward Akira and returned to his work. Takumi innocently asked Akira about how Uzushigakure came to be, his big purple eyes sparkling with curiosity. Akira smiled lovingly and decided to share the story. She explained that Uzushio was a great village known for its longevity and fuinjutsu skills, which made them targets for destruction. During the Great Second Shinobi War, Iwagakure successfully attacked them when Uzushio was low on shinobi, as many had gone to aid Konoha. The survivors of the massacre scattered across the globe, and one Uzumaki named Kushina became famous for her fiery temper, adept fuinjutsu, and unique ninjutsu style. The Uzumaki clan was also one of the few capable of housing the tailed beasts. When Kushina was young, she arrived in a village called Konoha to have the 9-tailed beast sealed within her, as the previous host was old and dying. Kushina became a grandmother and a mother-in-law to many. She later married a man named Minato, who was the 4th Hokage of Konoha. During Naruto's birth, the seal containing the 9 tails became loose, and someone was manipulating it. Minato and Kushina made the ultimate sacrifice for the safety and happiness of the village, sealing the beast within their son. As a result, Naruto grew up as an orphan, facing hatred from many who believed he was responsible for the devastation that occurred that day. At the age of 12, Naruto was banished from the village after an incident involving the last Uchiha prince. He traveled for a long time and eventually encountered the Akatsuki, a group of rogue shinobi often seen as criminals but, in reality, a refuge for the rejected and persecuted. The leader of the Akatsuki was a man named Uzumaki Nagato, who went by the alias Pain. He was also connected to Naruto's father. Together, they aimed to rebuild the mighty nation of Uzushio, the foundation of the Uzumaki nation. Years later, Uzushio flourished under Nagato's leadership, and Naruto admired him greatly. As Naruto finished his paperwork, he blushed at Akira's unexpected compliment. It was rare for her to express such praise, and her warm smile made him feel appreciated. Yuzumi, curious about the past, asked about Naruto's friends from Konoha and whether they had reconciled. Akira chuckled, acknowledging Yuzumi's insight. She explained that a few years after the war, Konoha sought to re-establish their alliance. The 5th Hokage, Tsunade, who was Naruto's grand aunt, sent the rookie 12 to negotiate a treaty. They were surprised to discover that Naruto had become the Uzukage, leading to a heartfelt reunion. Uzumi expressed her admiration for her father, declaring him cooler than Uncle Kido. Akira laughed, recalling how shy Uncle Kido had been when he first met Auntie Hina, much to the surprise of Takumi and Uzumi, who found it hard to believe. Akira then encouraged Naruto to take a break from his paperwork and spend some quality time with their children. She suggested they go to the park together while she prepared dinner. Naruto happily agreed, scooping Takumi and Uzumi onto his shoulders as they headed outside. As Akira began preparing dinner, she contemplated making fish, tofu, miso soup, and rice. Soon, the delicious meal was ready just as Naruto and the kids returned home, joyfully announcing their arrival. They gathered around the table, expressing gratitude before enjoying their meal together. After dinner, once Takumi and Uzumi were tucked in bed, Naruto continued his paperwork while Akira assisted him in organizing it. The house was filled with a comforting silence until Naruto broke it, wondering why it was so quiet. Akira playfully suggested that she could break the silence if he wanted. Naruto teased her about learning pickup lines, and they exchanged light-hearted banter. He proposed they do something different and fun, hinting at expanding their family. Akira, intrigued, asked him to elaborate. With a playful grin, Naruto suggested they consider having another child. Akira responded with curiosity, wanting to know what he had in mind. The atmosphere was filled with warmth and affection as they shared a moment together, deepening their bond. As they enjoyed each other's company, the love and connection between them shone brightly, a testament to their journey together as a family.